Chapter 1058. Yeah, Master, this child is so pitiful. He has lost his parents so soon after being born. He's just too pitiful. The kind-hearted Xiao Qian and Xiao Yu immediately showed deep sympathy when they heard about the child's pitiful fate. Their gazes toward the child changed as well, becoming filled with love. Master, let's let this pitiful child live on Three Saint Island in the future. Xiao Qian gently stroked the child's face with her soft, white hands as she pleaded with the heavenly enchantress. Yeah, Master, let's let the child live on Three Saint Island. The island is so big anyway, and there's only the four of us. It'll be livelier with one more person, Xiao Yu suggested. Xiao Yu suggested as well. She liked the chubby baby in the heavenly enchantress' arms very much, and she felt even more pity for the baby's fate. The heavenly enchantress had already removed her veil, revealing her otherworldly beauty. She looked at the child in her arms with mixed feelings and gently sighed. All right, since you like this child so much, we'll let him grow up on Three Saint Island. Yay, that's fantastic. We'll have another member of Three Saint Island in the future. Xiao Qian and Xiao Yu immediately cheered. They were so lively that they seemed like little girls. Master, the child still doesn't have a name. Why don't we give him a name? Xiao Yu suggested. Oh my, let me do that. Naming children is what I'm best at, Xiao Qian said excitedly. Xiao Qian excitedly fought for the right to name the baby. Then, she pondered for a moment and said, Master, this child is so cute. Why don't we call him Xiao Bao? Xiao Bao, that's not a bad name. It sounds pretty cute, Xiao Yu said after some thought. The heavenly enchantress hesitated for a while before nodding in the end. She said, all right then, let's call him Xiao Bao in the future. Master, leave Xiao Bao to the two of us. Xiao Qian and I will take care of him in the future, Xiao Yu giggled before extending her arms to hug Xiao Bao. There's no need. The heavenly enchantress silently appeared 10 meters away and gradually left with Xiao Bai. She said, I'll take care of Xiao Bao. Xiao Qian, Xiao Yu, go down the mountain and find some high-quality milk. Xiao Bao's food will be provided by the two of you in the future. Yes, Master, Xiao Qian and Xiao Yu replied at the same time. They were both dejected. Qin, rest for a few days first. I'll play a song for you in 3 days so that you can comprehend the heavenly sounds. The heavenly enchantress' voice slowly rang out, but she had already vanished. The heavenly enchantress currently sat on a large rock with Xiao Bao in her arms in a secret room on Three Saint Mountain. She was in a daze. Her expression was extremely mixed, and there was some sorrow as well. Xiao Bao seemed to be able to sense the heavenly enchantress' sorrow. He began to babble as he stared at the heavenly enchantress with his innocent eyes. He waved his hand subconsciously. The heavenly enchantress looked at Xiao Bao and sighed inside. She said, in order to give birth to Xiao Bao, I was pregnant for 10 whole years. My strength skyrocketed at an unbelievable rate during that time, and I only reached my current level with the help of the dragon's saliva grass. Xiao Bao, are you my blessing or the root of my misfortune? From then on, another person was added to the Three Saint Mountain. It was a baby boy, Xiao Bao. The Chanyang prefecture in Lore City was filled with cheers. Jinshin's return immediately caused the prefecture to bustle with activity. Jinshin's status in the Chanyang prefecture was unmatched. He was the pride of the prefecture, the pride of Chanyang prefecture. He had won the respect of everyone. His return immediately caused all the old people in the prefecture to personally welcome him. They all looked at Jinshin with great pride and joy. These old people were all founding members of the Chanyang prefecture. Although they were not powerful, with most of them being Earth Saint Masters, some of them were Jinshin's great-grandfathers in terms of seniority. In a corner of the Chanyang prefecture, Jinshin's third brother, Chanyang Ku, stared at Jinshin, who was escorted into the discussion hall by everyone with mixed feelings. He could not help but think about everything that had happened between him and Jinshin when they were young. He could still clearly remember that back then, his fourth brother had been deemed as a cripple by the clan who could not cultivate Saint Force. His status in the clan was far lower than his own. Yet now, the cripple who could not cultivate Saint Force had suddenly become a powerful figure who could shake up the entire continent with a stomp of his foot. On the other hand, Chanyang-ku's strength remained at the level of Great Saint Master, even though he had used up a large number of monster cores from the clan. He had not even reached Earth Saint Master. Big Brother has become a disciple of the Pure Heart Pavilion. Sister has become the Holy Maiden of the Ice Goddess Hall of unknown origins, and Brother has become a supreme expert whose name shakes up the continent. He possesses the strength of the Holy Emperor. Only I, Chanyang-ku, have achieved nothing. I haven't even reached Earth Saint Master. Am I really a cripple? Chanyang-ku laughed at himself in a self-deprecating manner. He was rather dejected. Out of the 4 children of the current patriarch of the Chanyang Prefecture, Chanyang-ba, 3 of them had become renowned figures. Only he remained unknown, which was a heavy blow to him. Jianshun casually chatted with the various seniors of the Chanyang Prefecture before returning to his own room. Due to Jianshun's special status, he received special treatment in the Chanyang Prefecture. The luxurious palace-like residence he used to live in had been renovated once again. Not only was it much larger than before, but it also seemed even more grand and majestic. It was no weaker than the imperial palace of a ruler. The palace-like residence that Jianshun lived in had already become the symbol of the Chanyang Prefecture. It took up a third of the entire Chanyang Prefecture. As for the tower that Chanyang Zuyun Xiao and his wife had created with their abilities, it had already been destroyed by them. Jianshun felt rather helpless about the clan's plan to rebuild his residence. He really did not have any requests for it. He had also learned from his mother that the proposal to rebuild his residence had actually come from the ancestor of the Chanyang Prefecture, Chanyang Zuyunkong. He had even obtained the agreement of everyone in Chanyang Prefecture, including Chanyang Zuyun Xiao and his wife. That night, Jianshun drank to his heart's content with little fatty Wang Yifeng, Seniorin, Yun Zheng, and Yang Ling in his own residence. They talked about everything under the sun as their laughter constantly rang out. Jianshun, I've already decided. Once you leave Chanyang Prefecture, Wang Yifeng, Seniorin, Yun Zheng, and I will go out and train. We'll make a good trip on the Tianyuan continent. If we hide at home and cultivate every day, it'll be like building a cart behind closed doors. There won't be much to gain, little fatty said drunkenly. His face had become bright red. Jianshun secretly nodded with that. Little fatty's talent for cultivation was pretty good, but he was still young after all. He lacked experience. Making a trip on the Tianyuan continent would indeed be very beneficial to him. Dugu Feng is currently in Flame City. He's an elder of the Xing department and a disciplinary elder. He's in charge of punishing mercenaries who make mistakes. Ever since he left with you, the management of Flame City has fallen into Bai Lian's hands. She manages the city in an orderly manner all by herself, and she has also nurtured many members of the upper echelon who are adept at management. The city's strength is increasing with each passing day. Coupled with your reputation, Jianshun, it's already attracted several saint rulers to join the city. Great-grandfather Baihai has also gone with Bai Lian. He's responsible for her safety while supervising her cultivation. Chapter 1059. Deep into the night, Jianshun's residence finally quieted down. Little Fatty and the others all left, returning to their rooms to rest. Only Jianshun and a few female servants remained in the large room, cleaning up the table. Jianshun made his way outside and arrived on the roof with a gentle leap. Afterward, he lay on the roof and stared at the pitch-black sky. His deep eyes seemed to be able to pierce through space, allowing him to see the silver-white, divine hull hovering in outer space from far away. Yu Yu was not in Chanyang Prefecture. She had entered the bright moon divine hall soon after returning to Chanyang Prefecture with Jianshun. Afterward, she was taken to outer space to absorb the essence of the moon to cultivate. After becoming the disciple of Fairy Hao Yue, Yu Yu's passion for cultivation reached an unprecedented level. She worked even harder than before. All she wanted to do was increase her strength as quickly as possible so that she could do a few more things for Jianshun and share some of the pressure with Jianshun. Jianshun lay on the roof as he stared at the pitch-black sky in a daze. A sliver of confusion appeared on his face as he murmured, "Why did Fairy Haoyue take you as a disciple? Yu Yu's talent may be impressive, but it's only limited to a small country like the Kingdom of Jessen. It's nothing special on the Tianyuan continent. There are countless prodigies of great talent on the continent, and their talent is far greater than Yu Yu's. Why didn't Fairy Haoyue take them as disciples?" Now that he had calmed down, Jianshan immediately thought of many things. Among them, the matter of Fairy Haoyue taking Yu as a disciple puzzled him the most. "I don't think Fairy Haoyue taking Yu as a disciple is as simple as it seems. Fairy Haoyue probably has other intentions," Jianshan murmured as he sank into his thoughts. Suddenly, Jianshan's eyes narrowed. He immediately stopped murmuring and saw a black figure leap onto the roof. The figure stepped on the tiles gently as he slowly made his way toward Jianshan. Jianshan did not stand up. He continued to lie on the roof, using his hands as a pillow as he stared at the pitch-black sky. The black figure came to Jianshan's side and stood still. He then copied Jianshan and laid down on the roof. His movements caused the tiles on the roof to crackle. He said, "Fourth brother, it's already so late. Why haven't you slept yet?" Jianshan turned his head and looked at the black figure. He smiled. "Brother, aren't you awake as well? Sleeping right now is basically a waste of time for me." "Saya, brother, you've already become a supreme expert on par with the Holy Emperor. Even with the entire continent in perspective, you're a supreme expert. You really don't need to sleep to recover after reaching such a level of strength." Changyang gently sighed. His face was filled with sorrow. "Brother, have you been well in the past few years?" Jianshan asked. Although Changyang had opposed him in almost every aspect in the past, that was only when they were children. Jianshan had stopped fussing about it long ago. He treated it as a child messing around. "Sai, brother, you, big brother, and second sister are all famous people. You're either supreme experts who rule over an entire region or geniuses who are highly valued by peak organizations. Only your third brother is still unknown, still stuck at Great Saint Master. Who knows how long it'll take for him to break through to Earth Saint Master. Do you think your third brother has been well these past few years?" Changyang gently sighed as he became gloomy. Jianshan remained silent. Changyang's talent for cultivation was indeed nothing special. He was still stuck as a Great Saint Master despite the great efforts of the clan. His rate of progress was indeed rather slow. Changyang suddenly sat up and stared at Jianshan hopefully. He said, "Brother, you're already a great person who reigns over a region. I know you're extremely powerful, so can you help me? I don't want to waste my time like this. I don't want to embarrass big brother, sister, and brother." Changyang's voice was filled with pleading. He had already mustered up a lot of courage to say that. Jianshan slowly sat up and said, "Third brother, I still have a few heavenly resources on me. Once I go to Flame City tomorrow morning, I'll get the alchemists there to refine them into pills. They can change your constitution a little. Although the system can be changed with heavenly materials and earthly treasures, hard work is the key to determining future success." "Brother, thank you. I will definitely work even harder in the future." Changyang was so excited that he could not control himself. He seemed to have seen a sliver of light in the darkness, a glimmer of hope for the future. The next morning, Jianshan left Yangling in Chanyang Prefecture and went to Flame City with Ruijin. Currently, Flame City was even more bustling than before. Mercenaries streamed in and out of the city gates, as well as quite a few merchants who had come to Flame City for employment. Although the Flame mercenaries had suffered a great setback and almost collapsed, Jianshan's fame was just too great. Coupled with the fact that he was the captain, the Flame mercenaries were reorganized extremely quickly. In less than a month, not only had the Flame mercenaries returned to their peak condition, but they had become even more powerful than before. There were even a few saint rulers who came to join the Flame mercenaries. The current Flame mercenaries were already more powerful than many hermit clans. Coupled with Jianshan, who had once killed the Holy Emperor, the Flame mercenaries were no weaker than ancient clans. They had become one of the few peak mercenary groups on the Tianyuan continent, and were renowned across the continent. The banner of the Flame Mercenaries had basically become a life-saving talisman on the Tianyuan continent. This was because wherever the banner passed by, no one, be it bandits or people from large clans, would dare to offend it. They would all politely make way for it. As a result, when the Flame Mercenaries carried out escort missions, everything was smooth sailing. They would only come across some ignorant magical beast from time to time, resulting in some bloodshed. As a result, more and more merchants were willing to hire the Flame Mercenaries. Jinshin hovered 1,000 meters in the air as he looked at the bustling city below with a gratified smile. However, when his gaze landed on the very center of the city, his eyes immediately narrowed and his face became rather ugly. At the center of the city, a huge stone statue that was over 300 meters tall stood there. It gave off an aura that looked down on the world as it gazed into the distance. It was like a king had descended, mighty and extraordinary. The person depicted on the statue was actually Jinshin. Moreover, it was extremely lifelike, as if it was a real person. Jinshin's face sank slightly. He took a few steps in the air and arrived above the statue in a few flashes. He directly struck the statue with his hand, and with a violent boom, the entire statue was pulverized by Jinshin's strike. It was reduced to a pile of dust that fell from the sky. He had actually destroyed his own statue with his own hands. The status of the statue in Flame City was irreplaceable because he was a legend on the Tianyuan continent. He was a legend on the Tianyuan continent. At the same time, he was a supreme expert on par with the Holy Emperor, the spiritual leader of the Flame Mercenaries, Jinshin. The destruction of the statue immediately attracted the attention of all the people in the vicinity, and when they saw what they respected the most, when they saw the statue of their most revered captain being destroyed, all of them immediately fell into an uproar. Powerful killing intent and fury immediately rose up like a roaring fire. The captain's statue has been destroyed. Someone has destroyed the captain's statue. Which bastard did this? How dare he destroy our captain's statue? I'll cut him up personally. How dare he destroy our captain's statue? No matter who he is, I'll cut him into 1,000 pieces. All the mercenaries were thrown into an uproar when they saw the statue being destroyed. They all gnashed their teeth as their eyes burned with hatred. The destruction of Jinshin's statue was like the death of their parents. It was an unforgivable crime. Chapter 1060. The cries of the saint rulers of Flame City basically rang through the entire city. Everyone heard about the destruction of the captain's statue and immediately fell into an uproar. A large number of mercenaries from the Flame Mercenaries leapt onto the walls, quickly making their way to the center of the city. The headquarters of the Flame Mercenaries was located to the back of the city. It was a luxurious palace that had been constructed like an imperial palace. This was the core of the Flame Mercenaries' authority, where the leaders and managers of the mercenaries lived. Currently, Balian was gathered with the upper echelon of the mercenaries in a green dress. They were sternly discussing matters regarding the development of the mercenaries. Suddenly, a shout pierced through the various obstructions and rang in from outside, interrupting Bai Lian and the others. Bai Lian's face immediately became ugly when she heard that the statue of her brother, Jinshin, had been destroyed. Her eyes shone with a chilling light. I like to see who it is that dares to destroy my brother's statue. I won't forgive them so easily. Bai Lian was furious. Bai Lian was infuriated beyond words. She slammed the table and stood up, no longer caring about the meeting. She strode out with a dark expression. Behind her, the higher-ups of the Flame Mercenaries followed closely behind her. Jinshin hovered several hundred meters in the air in the center of the city. He calmly watched the saint rulers approach him with his arms crossed. Ruijin hovered beside Jinshin emotionlessly. He would glance at the crumbled statue from time to time as some doubt appeared on his face. The saint rulers of Flame City surged with presences. They all drew their saint weapons and surrounded Jinshin and Ruijin. Surging energy pulsed wildly around them, causing the surrounding space to slightly distort. They were ready for battle at any time. Who are you? Why have you destroyed the statue of Captain Jianshan? Why aren't you moving? A saint ruler glared at Jianshan and yelled out. However, before he could finish speaking, he was immediately surprised. He stared at Jianshan in a daze as disbelief flooded his face. The saint ruler stared at Jianshan for quite a while before asking with a trembling voice, Why? Why? You're Captain Jianshan. What? Captain Jianshan? The other 4 saint rulers were surprised when they heard that. They immediately studied Jianshan carefully. Although they had never seen Jianshan's true appearance, they had seen Jianshan's portrait and statue before, so they were familiar with Jianshan's appearance. They immediately discovered that the young man's appearance was exactly the same as Captain Jianshan's. Another tremendous presence appeared and rapidly approached Jianshan. It was the ancestor of the Bai family, Bai Hai. He flew over with Bai Lian with lightning-like speed. Bai Hai and Bai Lian were both pale-faced. Flames of fury burned within them. The destruction of Jianshan's statue had crossed their bottom line. The two of them were still thinking about how they could viciously punish the people who had destroyed the statue. However, when Bai Hai and Bai Lian saw Jianshan and Ruijin surrounded by the saint rulers, they became stunned. Their faces were filled with shock, and their flames of fury were completely extinguished as if a bucket of cold water had been poured over them. "Brother, why is it you?" Bai Lian called out. She was both surprised and overjoyed. Bai Hai also stared at Jianshan in shock before looking at the statue that had been reduced to dust. He was confused. Now, he knew that the person who had destroyed the statue was his great-grandson. Greetings to Captain Jianshan. The saint rulers who had hurried over first finally confirmed Jianshan's identity. They dared not hesitate at all, immediately bowing to Jianshan politely. They were extremely emotional. The captain of the Flame Mercenaries, Jianshan, was a legendary figure on the Tianyuan continent. Even with their strength as saint rulers, they struggled to remain calm when they saw a legendary figure. As for the anger on their bodies, they had long since restrained it. Jianshan stared at Bai Lian's face that had clearly become much thinner, and the anger he felt from the statue vanished in a single moment. Tenderness rose up in his heart, and he took a step forward, arriving before Bai Lian in a single moment. He looked at Bai Lian lovingly and tenderly and gently said, "Lian, I've really troubled you with the matters of the Flame Mercenaries." Bai Lian could not help but smile sweetly when she heard Jianshan's concern and heartache. However, when she glanced past the empty statue in the center of the city, she became confused again. She asked, "Brother, did you destroy the statue?" "Correct. I personally destroyed it." Jianshan looked at the dust that was still drifting down and indifferently replied, "Big brother, I hired over 100 craftsmen and spent a lot of effort to carve this statue. Why did you destroy it? Could it be that the statue wasn't carved properly?" Bai Lian's face was full of grievance, and she looked very pitiful. "Lian, don't be angry. I'm not blaming you. It's just that you don't know anything about the origins of the Flame Mercenaries. The statue in the center of the city doesn't belong to me. It should belong to the first captain of the Flame Mercenaries," Jianshan gently explained. He gazed into the distance as he reminisced. "The first captain? Don't tell me you're not the first captain of the Flame Mercenaries?" Bai Lian's face was filled with shock and disbelief. Jianshan shook his head. "Lian, I'm not the first captain. The first captain is called Kendall. I'm only the second captain." The past flashed through Jianshan's head like a movie. It made Jianshan think back to the days when he and the other members of the Flame Mercenaries roamed the magical Beast Mountains. Even now, he could still clearly remember that the Flame Mercenaries had been hunted down by a Class 5 golden-haired Tiger King in the magical Beast Mountain range many years ago. In the end, except for himself, all the members of the Flame Mercenaries had died in the mouth of the golden-haired Tiger King, including the first leader of the Flame Mercenaries, Uncle Kendall. Uncle Kendall's greatest wish was to develop the Flame Mercenaries into the largest mercenary group on the Tianyuan continent, the strongest mercenary group. As a result, Jianshan shouldered the great ambition of developing the Flame Mercenaries in order to complete Uncle Kendall's final wish. Back then, When Jianshun had just become the second captain of the Flame Mercenaries, he was the only one in the entire group. Only after that did Ming Dong join. Now, so many years had passed. The Flame Mercenaries had developed from an unknown, small mercenary group to a peak mercenary group that could shake up the entire continent. Brother, who was the first captain of the Flame Mercenaries? Why don't I know anything about him after spending so much time with the mercenaries? Ba Lian asked. Chapter 1061. All the mercenaries and merchants gathered in the center of the city stared at the huge statue that had grown from the ground in shock. Many of them were confused. The statue had completely replaced Jinshin's statue, but its appearance was different. It was a middle-aged man who seemed to be in his 40s. He was the first captain of the Flame Mercenaries, as well as the founder of the mercenaries, Kindle. Jinshin stared at Kindle's familiar face with mixed feelings. Reminiscence filled his eyes. He would never forget Uncle Kindle's appearance. Uncle Kindle was like a brand, deeply imprinted in the depths of Jinshin's mind. He could not erase it even if he wanted to. Even after so many years, the memory was still fresh in his mind. The statue that seemed to have grown from the ground had been created by Jinshin using his ability to control the earth force. He had condensed the statue from the soil according to his memories of Uncle Kindle. This was not a huge feat. Any Saint Ruler who had reached Saint Ruler and could control earth-attributed energy would be able to accomplish this easily. However, although the statue had been condensed, it was still very weak and lacked a certain charm. Jinshin slowly closed his eyes. With a thought, the earth-attributed energy in the surroundings immediately began to boil. It surged over from all directions extremely quickly, forming a hazy, earth-yellow light in the end that poured into the statue. With the infusion of the earth attribute energy, the color of Kindle's statue, which was completely made of mud, immediately underwent a subtle change. It began to turn white at a speed visible to the naked eye. Its material was transforming from soft mud to hard rock, becoming harder and harder. Jinshin could control 6 types of energy, including light and darkness. At this moment, he gathered all the earth-attributed energy in a radius of 100 kilometers, doing his best to create the statue. Yu, Bai Hai, and the 5 Saint Rulers who had joined the Flame Mercenaries all stared at the statue that was becoming harder and harder. Looking at the unfamiliar face on the statue, all of them understood that this was probably the first captain of the Flame Mercenaries that Jianshun had mentioned. Although the statue that represented the honor of the city had completely changed, they did not dare to raise any objections as the upper echelon of the mercenaries. This was because all of this was planned by Captain Jinshin. Jinshin's status in the mercenaries was so great that it could not be replaced by anyone. Even Bai Lian, who was in charge of managing the mercenaries, could not do so. This was because Jinshin had already become a god in the hearts of every single member of the mercenaries. He was the pillar of support for the entire group, so a casual word from him was like an imperial edict. More and more people gathered around the statue, becoming a sea of people very soon. The spacious area was completely packed. Most of them were mercenaries of the Flame Mercenaries. They had all come furiously, wanting to viciously punish the people who had destroyed Jinshin's statue. However, when they saw Bai Lian and the Saint Rulers hovering in the air without doing anything, a few of the smarter people could not help but become suspicious. They felt that the matter was not as severe as they had imagined it to be. Due to the distance and the blind spot, many people failed to see Jinshin's appearance clearly. They failed to recognize Jinshin. After the time it took to brew a cup of tea, the earth attribute energy that had gathered from all directions finally dissipated. Meanwhile, Uncle Kindle's statue had also reached the perfect stage. The statue had become as tough as steel. Jinshin had even left behind a large amount of earth-attributed energy, so it had become much tougher. Even Heaven's Saint Masters would struggle to destroy it. The statue did not give off any shocking presence. It seemed extremely ordinary, especially his honest and kind face. It had been sculpted to life by Jinshin, as if Kindle was alive. Jinshin stood with his hands behind his back as he stared at the statue affectionately. He said, "Have you seen it clearly? He's the first captain of the Flame Mercenaries." His name is Kindle. The statue in the center of the city should belong to him, not me. If it were not for Captain Kindle, there would not be the current flame mercenaries. Bai Lian and the others all stared at the statue with mixed feelings. They were speechless for quite some time because the news was just far too shocking to them. At the same time, the news that Jinshan's statue had been replaced quickly spread through the entire city. It caused a huge uproar in the city as various discussions rang out incessantly. Jinshan only stayed there for a while before returning to the Imperial Palace with Bai Lian and the others. Soon afterward, the news regarding Kindle spread from the Imperial Palace as well, quickly spreading through the entire city. Everyone in the city knew the truth, as well as the identity of the statue in the center of the city. Although there were still many people who believed that the statue still belonged to Jinshan, no one objected at all since Jinshan was the one who personally led the matter. No one felt dissatisfied. Jinshan gained an even clearer understanding of the current situation in Flame City from Bai Lian. Everything was obviously smooth sailing. It could be said that ever since Jinshan returned from the Sea Realm and took back Flame City from the Flame Extinguishing Alliance, the status of the Flame Mercenaries on the Tianyuan continent had undergone a drastic change. The development of the Flame Mercenaries had become extraordinarily smooth. Jinshan also learned from Bai Lian that the earliest batch of members he had recruited in Wake City had already completed their training on the Tianyuan continent. They had all returned to Flame City, and with the token Jinshan had given them, they had successfully become a part of the Flame Mercenaries. Jinshan placed great importance on these loyal subordinates of his, so he personally went to meet them. The group of elites had been baptized by blood and tempered by life and death in the past few years. They had already developed steel-like wills, great battle prowess, and fearless spirits. However, after roaming the Tianyuan continent for so many years, they had suffered quite a number of casualties. Coupled with the fact that they had roped in a few bold and loyal mercenaries along the way, they still had 65 people. Every single one of them was an Earth Saint Master, and all of them had grasped battle grades. Their strength was incomparable to ordinary people. The cub of the golden-furred Tiger King they had obtained outside Wake City had been sacrificed in an intense battle before it had fully matured. Although no Heaven Saint Master had appeared among the 65 of them in just over a decade, a few of the more talented people had already reached the 6th cycle of Earth Saint Master. They were only a step away from becoming Heaven Saint Masters, and they had even grasped Heaven-tier battle skills. Jinshan had decided many years ago to nurture these people without holding back, so he had sent all of them into the artifact space. He provided them with a quiet environment and all the resources they needed for cultivation so that they could work hard and increase their strength. He had even used extremely precious heavenly resources to improve their talent. Jinshan, even if you use heavenly resources to increase their talent, they'll only reach Saint Ruler in the end due to their innate limitations. Some of them will even struggle to break through to Saint Ruler. Is it worth it for you to spend so much effort to nurture them? Rui Jin felt that Jinshan's actions were not worth it. Right now, the Flame Mercenaries are all supported by me. Although a few Saint Rulers have joined me, they can't be trusted completely. If the Flame Mercenaries want to become a truly powerful mercenary group and remain prosperous on the Tianyuan continent, they need a powerful force that belongs to them. They will be that force in the future, Jinshan said. He did not waver in his determination to nurture these people. As for their aptitude, you don't have to worry about it. Although the increase in aptitude from a 1,000-year-old heavenly treasure is limited, if you use a 10,000-year-old heavenly treasure, they will be reborn. Although I don't have that many 10,000-year-old heavenly treasures, with my current strength, it won't be too difficult if I want to use ordinary heavenly treasures. At the same time, there's a divine item called the Divine Water of the World in the Sea Realm. Its effects are far greater than 10,000-year-old heavenly resources. Once I go to the Sea Realm and find enough Divine Water of the World, all of them will undergo a metamorphosis. They'll be able to reach Saint Ruler at the very least, Jinshan said confidently. Rui Jin fell silent. He did not say anything else. Jianchen obviously had his reasons for doing this. After settling the group of elites, Jianchen and Ruijin arrived at a mountain range several dozen kilometers away from Flame City. The mountain range was the rich mine where the tungsten alloy had been discovered. However, after so many years of mining, this mountain range was no longer as majestic as it used to be. It was now full of potholes. Several mountaintops had been dug up, and several large pits had been dug in the areas where the tungsten alloy mines were more concentrated. It had to be mentioned that the tungsten alloy mine contained an extremely large amount of tungsten alloy. Even after the construction of a sizable city, there was still quite a lot of tungsten alloy left. However, the tungsten alloy was extremely pure, making it extremely difficult to mine. Even a full-powered strike from a Heaven Saint Master would struggle to leave behind a mark. As a result, the Flame mercenaries had already given up on mining the tungsten alloy because they did not have the ability to do so. Chapter 1062. Jianchen hovered in the air above the mountains as he stared down in interest. He had already expanded the senses of his soul as hard as he could, quickly passing through the various obstructions and entering the ground. When he had first discovered the tungsten alloy mine, the Grand Elder of Mercenary City, Tianjian, had discovered that there was a ball of origin energy hidden within the mine. It was extremely powerful and could assist 9th Heavenly Layer Saint Rulers in breaking through to Holy Emperor. It was an extremely rare treasure in the world. Moreover, Jianchen had learned from the sword spirits that the origin energy hidden in the tungsten alloy mine was the origin energy of the metal spirit of the 5 elements. Jianchen's senses penetrated the tough tungsten alloy mine and reached several hundred meters underground. He could clearly sense an extremely powerful ball of energy pulsing slowly there. It was extremely pure, without any impurities at all. Senior Ruijin, you must have discovered that there's something else hidden within the tungsten alloy mine, right? Jianchen asked as he stared down. A gleam of light flashed through Ruijin's eyes. He nonchalantly said, "Correct, there's an extremely pure and powerful energy hidden there. However, there's a thick layer of tungsten alloy around the energy. There aren't a lot of people on the Tianyuan continent who can break through this layer of tungsten alloy, so it's very difficult to remove the energy." Senior Ruijin, may I ask if you can remove it with your current strength? Jianchen asked. Although the origin energy of the metal spirit was no longer of any use to him, he still wanted to use it on someone else. Since you need it, I'll try using the Sacred Dragon's Sword of the Dragon Clan, Jianchen slowly said. Soon after, a tremendous pressure radiated from his body. The Sacred Dragon's sword in his hand began to shine with a dense, white light. Terrifying ripples of energy caused the surrounding space to violently distort as if it was about to shatter. The origin energy of the metal spirit has actually become much more powerful than last time. It's actually maturing in the past few years. Master, make Ruijin stop. Ruijin's actions will destroy the origin energy of the metal spirit. Suddenly, the voices of the sword spirits rang out in Jianchen's head. Ruijin had already raised the Sacred Dragon sword and was about to swing it down. Senior Ruijin, there's no need to hurry. Jianchen reacted extremely quickly. He immediately made Ruijin stop before sending his consciousness into his sea of consciousness to ask the sword spirits. Master, this is the origin energy of the metal spirit that's rapidly maturing. If it's given enough time, it will become even more powerful in the future. It might even develop intelligence and become a spirit, an existence similar to the barrier spirit in Mercenary City. However, if you take it out now, you'll be destroying it without a doubt, Xing explained to Jianchen. A sliver of surprise appeared in Jianchen's eyes. After a moment of silence, he said, "Then roughly how long will it take for it to fully mature?" "We can't predict that. Everything will depend on how quickly it matures. However, the origin energy of the metal spirit will become more powerful the longer it's left. If it develops intelligence, it'll become an innate spirit. It'll possess a unique advantage, and its cultivation speed will be heaven-defying. It'll definitely have great accomplishments in the future," Xing explained. The world formation spirit in Mercenary City is also a spirit body derived from energy. However, it was only transformed from the essence of the earth. In terms of rank, it's still a level lower than the 5 elements metal spirit source. It's just a pity that the world formation spirit was congenitally deficient. Otherwise, her achievements would have far surpassed her current level. Ching Suo sighed. It's just that the chances of developing intelligence and becoming an innate spirit are just far too low. We can't be certain whether the origin energy of the metal spirit can develop intelligence or not. It'll all depend on its luck, Ziying said. Jianshun hesitated slightly after hearing what the sword spirits had said. In the end, he gave up on the idea of extracting the origin energy of the metal spirit right now. Since the origin energy still had a lot of room for growth, it would be better to give it some more time. It would obviously be best if it developed intelligence and became an innate spirit. Even if it did not develop intelligence, it would become even more powerful after a period of nurturing. At that time, the benefits of increasing his strength would be even greater. Senior Ruijin, let's just leave the origin energy here for a while. It won't be too late to retrieve it when we need it in the future, Jianshan said to Ruijin. That's up to you to decide. When you need it, I can help you break through the tungsten alloy, Ruijin said. Jianshan's status in his heart was rapidly rising. He had already become someone on the same level as him. Ignoring the fact that he needed Jianshan's help, just Jianshan's talent and speed of growth was enough to make him look at him in a new light. At this moment, Jianshan and Ruijin's eyes narrowed. The two of them looked into the distance at the same time. They saw a faint 5-colored light appear on the horizon, dyeing the sky with all sorts of colors. It was quite a beautiful sight. Another person has become a saint ruler. Looking at the direction, it shouldn't be too far from the kingdom of Jessen, Jianshan murmured. He was extremely calm. Ruijin stared in that direction. He only glanced at it casually before losing interest. Someone becoming a saint ruler was an extremely great matter in the eyes of ordinary people, but it was nothing in the eyes of experts at his level. Jianshan did not pay too much attention to the 5-colored clouds in the distance. If it were a few years ago, saint rulers would have been extremely powerful hermits in his eyes, but now, saint rulers had become extremely weak in his eyes, as weak as ants. He really did not care about people at that level. He was not interested at all. Jianshan and Ruijin left the mountains where the tungsten alloy mine was and returned to Flame City. At the same time, they passed a piece of flaming jadeite that had been filled with energy by Ruijin and could unleash an attack on par with the Holy Emperor at great perfection to Balian. It was to be used as the treasure of Flame City. Afterward, Jianshan summoned the 5 saint rulers who had joined the Flame Mercenaries and spoke with them. He made some promises and told them about the consequences of betrayal. Afterward, he went to visit Dugufeng. Originally, he wanted Dugufeng to temporarily put aside his matters and focus on cultivation, but Dugufeng liked his current position very much, so there was nothing Jianshan could do about it. Although he had basically enslaved Dugufeng back then, he had always treated Dugufeng as a very good friend. He did not force Dugufeng to do anything, so Jianshan would not interfere with Dugufeng's choice. Jianshan, the difference in strength between us is like the difference between the heavens and earth. I won't be able to catch up to you no matter how hard I cultivate, so there's no point in me following you. The only thing I can do is manage Flame City for you. The Flame Mercenaries may be very powerful right now, but they've developed too quickly. It's led to many internal problems that haven't been able to keep up with the pace of development. The most severe ones are the various punishments and discipline. If these two matters aren't dealt with properly, the mercenaries will cause trouble sooner or later. This was the explanation Dugufeng gave to Jianshan, as well as the reason why he had taken on the roles of disciplinary elder and disciplinary elder. Jianshan stayed in Flame City for 2 days. After handing over some matters, he left with Baihai and returned to Changyang Prefecture through the space gate Ruijin had constructed. As soon as Jianshan returned to Changyang Prefecture, Changyang Zhu Yunxiao came looking for him. He then called Jianshan to the discussion hall. Ruijin and Baihai both went to rest, so they did not go with him. When Jianshan entered the majestic discussion hall, he discovered a few strangers seated there. They were an old man and 3 women, but to Jinshin's surprise, Yu, who had been cultivating in the bright moon divine hall in outer space, was actually present as well. Her complexion was very ugly. Jinshin's heart sank slightly when he saw Yu's expression. He had already sensed something, so he glanced past the 4 strangers and studied them. The old man had white hair and a ruddy complexion. He gave off an otherworldly presence, making him seem like an old immortal. He sat there leisurely without saying anything. Jinshin had seen this old man before. He was one of the great elders of the Protector clan in Chanyang Prefecture. His strength had reached the 6th heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor. As for the 3 women, one of them was a graceful, middle-aged woman. She was a saint ruler, while the other 2 only seemed to be in their 20s. They were quite pretty and were heaven's saint masters. Jinshin, this is one of the 7 great elders of Chanyang Prefecture, Chanyang Qingjuri. He's your great-grandfather in terms of seniority. Chanyang Zhu Yunxiao introduced him to Jinshin. Chanyang Qingjuri's gaze had been fixed on Jinshin ever since Jinshin had entered. He immediately stood up from his chair when he heard Chanyang Zhu Yunxiao's introduction. He smiled amiably and said, "You must be Xiang Tian. You really are a talent. Our Protector clan in Chanyang Prefecture has benefited from you quite a bit. Sit, sit." Chanyang Qingjuri was extremely polite to Jinshin. Although Jinshin was his junior, he did not dare to put on any airs before Jinshin. Jinshin politely returned the greeting before sitting down beside Yu. He looked at Yu's troubled expression and gently asked, "What's going on?" Yu clearly let out a sigh of relief when she saw Jinshin arrive in time. She seemed to have found someone she could rely on right now. Her worry quickly vanished, and she said to Jinshin, "Jinshin, they want my bright moon divine hall." Chapter 1063. Jinshin's gaze suddenly sharpened. Anger rose up from the bottom of his heart uncontrollably. His gaze toward Chanyang Qingjuri underwent a drastic change as well. It became extremely hostile. The bright moon divine hall now belonged to Yu. It was something that Yu needed for cultivation because only through the bright moon divine hall could Yu quickly absorb moonlight force and increase her strength. If she lost the bright moon divine hall, Yu's path of cultivation would become much slower. At the same time, the bright moon divine hall had strengthened Yu's ability to protect herself, so Jinshin no longer had to worry about Yu's safety. However, the people of the Chanyang Prefecture actually wanted to take away Yu's bright moon divine hall, which made Jinshin extremely furious. "Is you telling the truth? You want to take away the bright moon divine hall?" Jinshin suddenly stood up as he glared at Chanyang Qingjuri. His presence was forceful, and he did not show any respect at all. He did not care about the seniority of his great-grandfather at all. Chanyang Zhu Yunxiao sat on the chair beside Jinshin. He looked at the furious Jinshin, but he showed no intentions of stopping or persuading him. He sat there leisurely and drank tea. He said nothing, as if he had seen nothing. Chanyang Qingjuri had expected Jinshin to react like this long ago. He maintained his amiable smile and said in no hurry, "Xiang Tian, it's not what you think it is. Our Chanyang Prefecture has only considered that Yu's strength is rather weak, and that the bright moon divine hall is an extremely precious treasure, enough to make anyone on the Tian Yuan continent jealous. If we keep the bright moon divine hall with Yu, it'll probably cause endless trouble for Yu. It might even be taken away by some powerful people. As a result, our Chanyang Prefecture has decided to let Yu leave the bright moon divine hall with our Protector clan. That way, we can guarantee that nothing will go wrong." In other words, you want to take away the bright moon divine hall for Yu's sake, Jinshin sneered. Chanyang Qingjuri could obviously hear the mockery in Jinshin's voice. He remained calm on the surface, but he was filled with bitterness inside. He knew that it was basically impossible to take away the bright moon divine hall from Yu. After a moment of silence, Chanyang Qingjuri said again, "Xiang Tian, I know what you're worried about, but you don't have to worry. You're already a part of our Chanyang Prefecture, so we obviously won't do anything to hurt you. Letting Yu leave the bright moon divine hall in Chanyang Prefecture is indeed only beneficial to her. She'll still be the owner of the bright moon divine hall." I thank you for your kindness on you Ur's behalf, but the bright moon divine hall is indestructible. It's not as fragile as regular divine halls. With the bright moon divine hall protecting you even the Holy Emperor can't do anything to her. As a result, leaving the bright moon divine hall in Chanyang Prefecture is completely unnecessary, Jinshin said. Chanyang Qingjuri's heart immediately skipped a beat when he heard that even the Holy Emperor could not do anything to the bright moon divine hall. He thought, the bright moon divine hall is actually so powerful. It's basically on par with the divine hall left behind by Mo Tianyun in Mercenary City. If our Chanyang Prefecture had a divine hall like that, why would we need to fear the other protector clans and the Beast God continent? Chanyang Qingjuri suddenly became rather emotional. Although the 10 protector clans possessed quite a few divine halls, none of them could stop the attacks of the Holy Emperor. If they possessed a divine hall that even the Holy Emperor could not destroy, their Chanyang Prefecture would definitely be able to ignore the Path Lord of Carnal Desires and the Holy Emperor of the Beast God continent. They would become the only clan on the Tian Yuan continent that could contend against Mercenary City. Even now, Chanyang Qingjuri could still clearly remember that the 10 protector clans had clashed with Mercenary City several tens of thousand years ago. The protector clans had mobilized over 20 Holy Emperor experts. It was an unprecedented scale, several times larger than Mercenary Cities. Yet Mercenary City had only sent a single person. She had used a powerful divine hall to stop over 20 Holy Emperor experts from the protector clans, which had shaken up the entire continent. Seeing how Chanyang Qingjuri remained silent, the middle-aged woman who had come with him said, Chanyang Shoten, legend has it that Fairy Haoyue's cultivation method is the only one on the Tian Yuan continent that can surpass the Saint tier, and it's only suitable for women. Since Yu has already become the Fairy Haoyue's disciple, she must have obtained the cultivation method. Why don't we get Yu to donate the cultivation method? It'll be a great contribution to the clan on one hand, and it'll also increase the strength of our Chanyang Prefecture on the other hand. If all the women in our Chanyang Prefecture cultivate such a cultivation method, the strength of our Chanyang Prefecture will completely surpass the 9 other clans before long. Jinshin's face became even uglier. Not only did the protector clan of Chanyang Prefecture want you to use Bright Moon Divine Hall, they even wanted Fairy Haoyue's cultivation method. He could not accept this. Jinshin clenched his fists tightly. His fury had reached its limit. If it were not for the fact that they were all people of Chanyang Prefecture and were not outsiders, he would have chased them away long ago. Chanyang Shoten, you're a member of our protector clan of Chanyang Prefecture, and Yu is your fiancé. Speaking of which, we're all on the same side. According to the rules of our clan, every single clansman of the clan must place the clan as the core. Yu's cultivation method is extremely important to the clan, so she should donate it to the clan, the middle-aged woman continued. Enough. Shut up. Jinshin could not hold it in any longer. He slammed his hand on the armrest of the chair, and the powerful force reduced it to dust. He glared at the middle-aged woman and Chanyang Qingjuri and coldly said, Don't talk about the benefits and interests of the clan. Don't talk about the rules and benefits of the clan in front of me. Whether it's the Bright Moon Divine Hall or Fairy Haoyue's cultivation method, no one can take them away unless Yu is willing. Otherwise, they'll be opposing me. Chanyang Shoten, how dare you speak to your elders like that? That's outrageous. Don't think that you can ignore the rules and elders of the clan just because you're strong. I may not be as strong as you, but you should still call me Great Aunt in terms of seniority, the middle-aged woman sternly said. She wanted to use her seniority to bully Jinshin. Jinshin sneered disdainfully. You don't have the right to be my great aunt. Everyone, my Chanyang Prefecture does not welcome you. Please leave. Jinshin made an inviting gesture and directly told them to leave. How dare you? Chanyang Shoten, do you know who Great-Grandfather Juri is? He's one of the great elders of our protector clan. Why? You actually dare to treat Great-Grandfather Juri like that? You're disrespectful to your elders. A woman who was only a heaven saint master beside the middle-aged woman furiously stood up and pointed at Jianshan. Chanyang Qingjuri was unable to remain as calm as before. He was a great elder of a protector clan in the Chanyang prefecture. Just how great was his status? Now that he had been told to leave by a junior of the clan, he was completely humiliated. If it were not for the fact that the junior before him possessed a rather special status, he would have taught him a lesson long ago. He would never have endured until now. Let's go. Chanyang Qingjuri glanced at Chanyang Zuyinshao, who had remained silent the entire time. With a wave of his hand, he angrily left with the middle-aged woman and the two other women. Chanyang Zuyinshao slowly stood up after Chanyang Qingjuri's departure. He let out a long sigh at the sky. His face was filled with helplessness. Jianshan, the two requests that Chanyang Qingjuri and the others have made are indeed the rules of the clan, so I can't help you with this matter. You don't understand our protector clan. The rules of our protector clan are extremely strict, and they have been passed down since ancient times. Even the great elders are unwilling to break them. I hope you can understand. Chanyang Zuyinshao gently sighed. I don't care how strict the rules of the Chanyang prefecture are. If they want to take anything from you Jianshan will definitely not allow it. However, I hope you won't interfere, Jianshan said. You don't need to worry about that. You're a member of my zoo branch, so we definitely won't make things difficult for you. This includes your great-grandfather, Chanyang Zuyinshao. Chanyang Zuyinshao sternly said. Jianshan, great-grandfather Yinshao, your worries are actually unnecessary. Even if I want to give up the Bright Moon Divine Hall and Master's cultivation method, I can't because the Bright Moon Divine Hall is still in Master's hands. I only have partial control over the Bright Moon Divine Hall. As for Master's cultivation method, there's no need to worry. Even if they get it, they won't be able to cultivate it. If they want to cultivate this kind of cultivation method, they must have a special physique. And this kind of physique can only be transformed by Master himself. Yi said, they might not believe me if I say that. Although Fairy Haoyue isn't dead, she's only a soul. She's not as intimidating as before, Chanyang Zuyinshao said. Chanyang Zuyinshao said in thought. After a moment of hesitation, he said, Jianshan, the seal in Kong Er's head still hasn't been removed. The clan wants to wait until you return to the clan before we work together with the 7 great elders to remove the seal. I don't care what you think of the Chanyang clan, but I do hope that you can find some time to return to the clan and relieve Kong of the pain that has tormented him for 1,000 years. Chapter 1064. Jianshan left the discussion hall with Yu Yu. The two of them went to visit Bai Yuntian and Chanyang Ba. During their conversation, Bai Yuntian brought up the matter of Jianshan and Yu Yu's marriage again. However, this time, both Jianshan and Yu Yu declined at the same time. Although Jianshan already possessed the power to protect himself, he still had many matters to deal with. As a result, he did not have the time to think about relationships. Yu Yu now possessed the Bright Moon Divine Hall and Fairy Haoyue's cultivation method. Her only goal was to focus all of her efforts on cultivation and increase her strength. Only when her strength reached a level where she could help Jianshan would she consider marriage. After bidding farewell to the two elders, Yu Yu did not spend much time with Jianshan before entering the Bright Moon Divine Hall again. She was taken to the void beyond the heavens by the Divine Hall to cultivate. Once I bring Changbo, great-grandfather by Hai, Yang Ling, and Senior Huang Tianba to Mercenary City, I'll immediately go to the protector clan of Chanyang Prefecture and get them to remove the seal in great-grandfather Chanyang Zhu Yunkong's head. Jianshan thought to himself. The main reason he had gone to Flame City this time was to bring back Bai Hai. He planned to bring Bai Hai to Mercenary City and have Xiao Ling decipher the mysteries of the world to assist Bai Hai in his cultivation. I'm only missing Senior Huang Tianba now. I just happen to be close to the Huang family, so I'll go alone. Jianshan shot up like a cannonball, rising into the sky with great speed. He flew in the direction of the Huang family with lightning-like speed, disappearing in the blink of an eye. However, he could not help but think of a beautiful figure. He thought, it's been so many years. I wonder how Wanner is doing. With her talent, she must have made great progress in the past few years. Jianshan flew even faster. The Huang family was over 30,000 kilometers away from the kingdom of Jessen. With Jinshan's speed, he only needed 2 hours to arrive at the beautiful mountain range where the Huang family resided. Jinshan landed outside the entrance of the Huang family. As he did not conceal his presence, he was discovered by the experts of the Huang family as soon as he arrived. Immediately, several Heaven Saint masters flew over. When they recognized Jinshan, they were all shocked. Their stern faces immediately lit up with smiles as they politely invited Jinshan into the clan with respect. Jinshan's current reputation on the Tianyuan continent was known to all the hermit clans. His current status was no longer the same as it was in the past. Today, he suddenly came to visit the Huang family. Everyone in the Huang family was flattered. Not only did the Huang family's patriarch come out to greet him, even the elders who were cultivating in seclusion at the back of the Huang family's mountain came out one after another. Although Jinshan was younger than any of them, he was still a supreme expert at the level of the Holy Emperor. On the Tianyuan continent, where strength reigned supreme, he was the undisputed king. Jinshan was not used to the Huang family going to such great lengths to receive him. After exchanging some pleasantries with the patriarch, he got straight to the point. "Patriarch, I've come this time to find Senior Huang Tianba. May I ask if Senior Huang is present?" The ancestor has always been cultivating in the back mountains and hasn't shown himself for many years. Since little brother Jinshan wants to see the ancestor, "I'll take you to him right now," said the patriarch. Afterward, he flew to the back mountains with Jinshan under the accompaniment of the experts of the Huang family. Very soon, Jinshan arrived at the sword-shaped mountain where Huang Tianba cultivated. The mountain was enveloped by a barrier, and an old wooden hut stood there all by itself. "Greetings to the ancestor. Ancestor, little brother Jinshan has come to our Huang family." The patriarch of the Huang family stood outside the barrier and said politely to the wooden hut on the mountain peak. Jinshan stared at the wooden hut indifferently. A sliver of surprise appeared in his eyes. "Patriarch, there's no need to call him. Senior Huang Tianba is not here." "What? The ancestor is not here?" The patriarch was stunned. He was surprised. Jinshan nodded slightly and expanded the senses of his soul, enveloping the surrounding 1,000 kilometers in an attempt to find Huang Tianba. However, he found nothing in the end. "Since I can't find him within 1,000 kilometers, it'll be the same even if I expand the senses of my soul to several thousand kilometers away." "It looks like Senior Huang Tianba has already left the clan," Jinshan thought. After a moment of thought, the patriarch said, "Little brother Jinshan, Huang Wan has already taken the ancestor of the Huanggu clan as her master. She has been cultivating in the Huanggu clan all these years, and the ancestor treats her like a treasure. Since the ancestor isn't here, he's probably gone to the Huanggu clan to visit her." "Huang Wan is in the Huanggu clan." Jinshan thought of something and said, "I'll pay a visit to the Huanggu clan then." Jinshan politely declined the patriarch's invitation to stay. He hurried over as soon as he found out where the Huanggu clan was. The Huanggu clan was located in the south, hidden in a forest filled with magical beasts and shrouded by a layer of mist all year round. Very few people knew of its existence. There was a 1,000-meter-tall tower at the very center of the Huanggu clan. This tower was the Huanggu clan. This tower was the most sacred place of the Huanggu clan, as it was where the ancestor cultivated. At this moment, on the top floor of the tower, in a completely sealed and slightly gloomy secret room, an old beggar-like man with disheveled hair was tied up by a thick iron chain and hung in the air. The old man was very strong. Every time he struggled, the iron chain would clatter, but no matter how hard he tried, he could not damage the iron chain at all. "Bastard, you will pay for this. If I, Huang Tianba, escape, I will never spare you," the chained old man said hoarsely. His voice was filled with hatred. Before him, the ancestor of the Huanggu clan stood there leisurely. A cold smile lingered on his lips. "Huang Tianba, do you think you still have a chance at revenge? Why don't you think about your current situation? Do you think you still have the ability to escape? I'd advise you to just give up." Chapter 1065. The ancestor of the Huanggu clan sneered. "Huang Tianba, Your precious granddaughter has already become a saint ruler, and my plan is about to succeed. You're about to die, so I don't mind telling you. Huang Tianba, have you heard of the water spirit's body? The ancestor asked. Water spirit's body? What water spirit's body? What does that have to do with my precious granddaughter? Huang Tianba asked. He did not know anything about the water spirit's body. I don't think you know either, the ancestor sneered. The ancestor of the Huanggu clan sneered and explained, the scripture of sunflower aqua that I cultivate is a saint-tier cultivation method of the water element. It contains information about the water spirit's body. The water spirit's body is an extremely rare and special constitution on the Tianyuan continent. It rarely appears on the Tianyuan continent, rarely even appearing once in 100,000 years. Anyone who possesses this constitution will possess a unique advantage when it comes to cultivating water attribute cultivation methods. Not only will they improve at an astonishing rate, but their future accomplishments will be limitless as well. They possess the potential to become the Holy Emperor. The ancestor's eyes shone brightly as soon as he mentioned the Holy Emperor. He was filled with yearning. Could it be that my precious granddaughter possesses the water spirit's body, and you have other intentions for taking her in as a disciple and teaching her the scripture of the aquatic sunflower? Huang Tianba's eyes shone brightly as he stared at the ancestor of the Huanggu clan. That's right. Huang Wan possesses the water spirit's body that only appears once in 100,000 years. However, her water spirit's body hasn't been completely activated yet. If it weren't for the wondrous scripture of the aquatic sunflower, probably no one would have been able to discover her water spirit's body beforehand. The ancestor laughed aloud. Bastard, so you want to control Wan, and turn her into a puppet of your Huanggu clan. Huang Tianba was furious. His body that was tied up in the air struggled violently, causing the chains to make clanking noises. Control? Ha ha ha. I've spent so much effort and even taught her the scripture of the aquatic sunflower. It's not as simple as just controlling her. I only want to help her unleash the potential of the water spirit's body as soon as possible. And then I'll use a special secret technique to absorb all the potential and pure water-attributed saint force within her. My strength will skyrocket, and I'll break through to the level of the Holy Emperor. I'll even have hopes of becoming a saint emperor in the future. The ancestor's eyes burned with desire. Bastard, you won't succeed. My precious granddaughter is Jinshan's woman. Not only is Jinshan a genius with a limitless future, but he also has a close relationship with the Grand Elder of Mercenary City. If you hurt my precious granddaughter at all, Jinshan will never let you go. Huang Tianba roared with a hoarse voice. His eyes were filled with hatred. Deep fear immediately appeared in the depths of the ancestor's eyes when he heard about Jinshan. Although he had not left the clan in the past few years, he knew about the rumors that had spread extremely well. In particular, he knew more about Jinshan than Huang Tianba. He had fended off the 10 protector clans all by himself and forced them to retreat in the end. Just how powerful was he? However, the ancestor seemed to think of something soon after. The fear in his eyes immediately vanished, and he sneered, Huang Tianba, you're still thinking about Jinshan even now. I admit that I am very afraid of this talented junior, but how is it possible for Jinshan to come to my clan? And even if he comes, he won't be able to do anything to me. The ancestor of the Huanggu clan smiled evilly. Moreover, your precious granddaughter has successfully become a saint ruler now. The potential of the water spirit's body has been completely awakened. I'll go find your precious granddaughter right now. Very soon, another Saint King will appear on the Tianyuan continent. Once that's done, there's no point in keeping you two alive. I only need to destroy the corpses, and I'll be free of worries. No matter how great Jinshan's abilities are, he won't be able to learn about what happened here. Bastard, I won't let you go even if I become a ghost. Huang Tianba trembled violently as he roared out furiously. However, his voice was so powerless. With the current situation, he was indeed meat on the chopping block in the hands of the ancestor of the Huanggu clan. His strength had been sealed, so he could not fight back even if he wanted to. Ha ha! Huang Tianba, Just stay here and witness the birth of another Saint King on the Tianyuan continent. Jinshan laughed. The ancestor of the Huanggu clan laughed wildly, as if becoming a holy emperor was an unchangeable fact. The ancestor of the Huanggu clan slowly backed out with a complacent smile. However, just when he was about to close the door to the room, a booming voice suddenly rang out from outside. The captain of the Flame Mercenaries, Senior Jinshan, has come to visit the Huanggu clan. Jinshan's voice was indifferent, but it turned into a visible wave of sound that spread out in all directions. Not only did it cause all the buildings in the clan to tremble slightly, but it also passed through the various obstructions, clearly reaching the ears of everyone in the clan. Even the people in the sealed rooms were no exception. The expression of the ancestor of the Huanggu clan, who was about to close the door, suddenly changed when he heard the voice. His complacent smile vanished at that moment, and his face became extremely ugly. Intense fear and dread filled his eyes. Jinshan, it's actually Jinshan. Jinshan has come to my Huanggu clan. The ancestor was no longer able to maintain his composure from before. His heart began to thump uncontrollably, and even he did not realize that his body had begun to tremble slightly. Oh no, we're in trouble now. That goddamn Jinshan. How'd he find this place? Why couldn't he have come a little later? The ancestor's heart chilled. The thing he did not want to happen the most had still happened in the end. It's little brother Jinshan. Little brother Jinshan has come. Little brother Jinshan has the support of the Grand Elder of Mercenary City. Bastard, I'd like to see what you're going to do now. Huang Tianba's despairing heart was filled with vigor once again. At that moment, he seemed to have grasped a sliver of light in the endless darkness, seeing the hope of escaping. Bang! The ancestor suddenly closed the door to the secret room, as if he was afraid that Jinshan would hear Huang Tianba's voice. The ancestor's face became extremely ugly. He became uneasy and wanted to flee, but when he thought about Jinshan's current strength, he immediately gave up on that thought. Suddenly, a gleam of light flashed through the ancestor's eyes. He said, Jinshan may have come to my Huanggu clan, but he doesn't know what I did to Huang Tianba and Huang Wan. If that's the case, the worst hasn't happened yet. I still have a sliver of hope. Moreover, I still have a final trump card. The ancestor immediately calmed down when he thought of that. He quickly dismissed his emotions and left the tower like nothing had happened. He personally went to welcome Jinshan. Chapter 1066. Jinshan already knew that the ancestor of the Huanggu clan was Huang Wan's master, so he behaved rather politely. He did not radiate with any presence at all. Right now, he seemed just like an ordinary person, hovering in the air like an ordinary person. The ancestor of the Huanggu clan smiled from ear to ear as he arrived before Jinshan with feigned excitement. He constantly showered Jinshan with compliments as if he was trying to get on his good side. Jinshan still had no idea what had happened to Huang Wan and Huang Tianba, so he was extremely friendly with the ancestor of the Huanggu clan. After all, he was Huang Wan's master. After exchanging some pleasantries with the ancestor, Jinshan cut straight to the chase. He asked, Senior, may I ask if Wan and Senior Huang Tianba are with you? The ancestor's heart sank once more, but he remained calm on the surface. He smiled. I knew that brother Jinshan would come to my humble abode to find my precious disciple and Huang Tianba. Unfortunately, brother Jinshan, you've come too late. My precious disciple has gone out to train long ago, and Huang Tianba isn't with me either. What? They're not with your clan? Jinshan was stunned and asked in surprise. Yes, they're not with us. Perhaps they've gone out together. Brother Jinshan, if you want to find them, I'll contact you as soon as they return, the ancestor of the Huanggu clan said calmly. The ancestor of the Huanggu clan said leisurely. However, no one knew that his current emotions were the complete opposite of his composure. He yearned for Jinshan to leave as soon as possible. Every second that Jinshan spent there, the ancestor of the Huanggu clan would become even more uneasy. Jinshan could not help but become confused when he heard what the ancestor of the Huanggu clan said. He had learned from Yu that ever since Huang Wan left Flame City and returned to the Huang family, she had never appeared again. There was not even a single piece of news. When he first heard this, Jinshin had thought that Huang Wan had remained in the Huang family to cultivate diligently. However, he discovered that Huang Wan was not there at all when he visited the Huang family. As a result, only the Huanggu clan was left. Jinshin still found it rather strange that the ancestor of the Huanggu clan had gone out to train. Suddenly, Jinshin expanded the senses of his soul, enveloping the entire Huanggu clan. He wanted to see if the situation was as the ancestor had said. Jinshin's soul was extremely powerful. Coupled with the mysteries of his soul, it easily pierced through all the defenses and obstructions of the Huanggu clan, allowing him to see through all their secrets. However, when the senses of Jinshin's soul penetrated the tower at the very center of the Huanggu clan, his face immediately changed. A terrifying light immediately erupted from his indifferent eyes as he radiated with surging fury. Heavy killing intent filled his body as well. Jinshin saw a beggar-like old man chained up in the secret room. Although the old man's hair was disheveled and his face was haggard, Jinshin still recognized him with a single glance. He was the person he had come to the Huang family for, Huang Tianba. Senior Huang, Jinshin cried out. His eyes almost popped out of their sockets. He arrived before the tower in a flash and struck out with his hand. With a boom, the most sacred tower of the Huang family loudly exploded, reduced to dust by Jinshin's strike. The fragments of the tower shot out in all directions, destroying quite a few buildings in the Huanggu clan. As the tower shattered, Huang Tianba, who had been trapped in a secret room at the very top of the tower, fell out of the sky as well. With a flash, Jinshin appeared beside Huang Tianba in an instant, leaving behind an afterimage. He gently landed on the ground with Huang Tianba in his arms. His face had already paled. The ancestor of the Huanggu clan paled in fright. He glanced at the furious Jinshin in fright, and without any hesitation, he immediately fled into the distance as quickly as he could. However, he constantly cursed inside, "God damn it! How did this Jinshin know that I trapped Huang Tianba in tower?" He clearly didn't know before. Right now, the only thing the Huanggu clan cared about was their own survival. They did not even care about the lives of their clansmen. Huang Tianba was obviously extremely excited that he had suddenly been saved. Just when he wanted to say something, he suddenly saw the ancestor of the Huanggu clan flee. His eyes immediately became filled with resentment as he called out, "Jinshin, don't let that bastard escape." "Senior Huang, don't worry. He won't be able to escape." Ice-cold killing intent shot out from Jinshin's eyes. With that, he immediately pursued the ancestor of the Huanggu clan. Jinshin and the ancestor of the Huanggu clan chased through the air. They both used spatial force to travel, so they moved extremely quickly. However, their comprehension of the mysteries of the world was at the 7th heavenly layer, so it was very difficult for them to close the distance between them after a while. With a flip of his hand, Jinshin pulled out the Emperor armament from his space ring. As he poured in chaotic force, the Emperor armament immediately began to glow with a black light. The terrifying energy caused the space around it to distort, even creating tiny, pitch-black cracks. Jinshin's battle prowess immediately skyrocketed after using the Emperor armament. The terrifying presence caused the ancestor of the Huanggu clan to pale in fright. He was filled with despair. Jinshin swung his sword, and a huge, black sword chi immediately shot out, shooting toward the ancestor with lightning-like speed. The ancestor of the Huanggu clan wanted to dodge, but it was impossible for him to dodge the sword chi with Jinshin's current strength. The difference between a holy emperor and a saint ruler was like the difference between heaven and earth. Arg! The sword chi caught up to the ancestor of the Huanggu clan in the blink of an eye. It severed his legs, leaving only the upper half of his body intact. The excruciating pain caused the ancestor to shriek out in agony. Even his fleeing speed was affected, slowing down. Jinshin put away the Emperor armament and quickly caught up to the ancestor of the Huanggu clan. This time, he did not show any mercy to the ancestor of the Huanggu clan. He ignored the ancestor's pained cries and dragged him back by his clothes. At this moment, The Huanggu clan had descended into chaos. Jinshin's actions in the tower had alarmed all the clansmen of the clan. All of them stopped cultivating and stepped out of their rooms to check on the situation outside. All the upper echelon of the clan had gathered around Huang Tianba. They all stared at him in shock as disbelief flooded their faces. They all recognized the ancestor of the Huang family, Huang Tianba, but they did not know what the ancestor of the Huanggu clan had done to him. Now that they suddenly saw Huang Tianba in such a state, they were all extremely shocked. They had no idea what had happened. At this moment, a tremendous presence appeared in the distance. Jinshin angrily returned with the ancestor of the Huanggu clan. After landing on the ground, he walked toward Huang Tianba step by step with the ancestor in hand. His face was sunken and his eyes were cold. A heavy killing intent still lingered around him. Ancestor. Ancestor. The clansmen of the Huanggu clan recognized the ancestor in Jinshin's hand with a single glance. Their faces all changed drastically as they cried out sorrowfully. "Let go of the ancestor!" A middle-aged heaven saint master bellowed out. He directly drew his saint weapon and charged toward Jinshin with bloodshot eyes. "Piss off!" Jinshin bellowed out. He did not even glance at the person. He directly threw a punch, using his body to forcefully block the saint weapon. Ding! Jinshin's fist collided with the saint weapon. The saint weapon was shattered like tofu by Jinshin's punch. Afterward, the fist did not slow down at all, landing on the Heaven Saint Master's chest mercilessly. The Heaven Saint Master vomited blood and was blown away like a cannonball. He smashed through many buildings along the way before collapsing 100 meters away. His entire chest had caved in. His organs had been reduced to dust by Jinshin's punch. Sixth Elder. The Heaven Saint Masters of the Huanggu clan all cried out. They immediately flew toward the middle-aged man that Jinshin had injured, only to discover that the Sixth Elder was dead. He had died on the spot from Jinshin's casual punch. The clansmen of the Huanggu clan immediately fell silent when they saw how powerful Jinshin was. They all stared at Jinshin in both shock and fear. No one dared to say anything else. They all moved out of the way for Jinshin. Chapter 1067. No matter who it is, kill them all if they offend you, Jinshin said coldly. Jinshin said coldly. His impression of the Huanggu clan had completely changed now. He now viewed them with hostility. Huang Tianba had shown him great kindness in the past, and he was Huang Wan's great-grandfather as well. No matter what grievances Huang Tianba had with the ancestor of the Huanggu clan, Jinshin would stand on Huang Tianba's side. Jinshin slowly made his way to Huang Tianba's side with the ancestor who had lost his legs. He tossed him to the ground without any politeness and crouched down. He asked in concern, "Senior Huang Tianba, are you all right? What happened?" Huang Tianba looked at the ancestor who was lying on the ground like a pile of mud. He was extremely delighted. At the same time, he was extremely shocked by Jinshin's strength. Right now, Huang Tianba's understanding of Jinshin's strength was still the same as a few years ago. He had no idea just how terrifying Jinshin had become. "Brother Jinshin, this bastard is only doing this to me because my precious granddaughter possesses the water spirit's body, something that's rarely seen in 100,000 years. Her talent is unprecedented, and her future is limitless. Right now, my precious granddaughter is being imprisoned by this bastard in a secret room 1,000 meters underground. Hurry up and save her." Huang Tianba's tone was somewhat urgent. He was very concerned about Huang Wan's safety. Jinshin's face changed slightly with that. He immediately expanded the senses of his soul, and, just as expected, he discovered that Huang Wan was trapped in a room 1,000 meters underground. The entire room was enveloped by a powerful barrier. Jinshin's heart immediately ached when he saw Huang Wan's haggard face. He struggled to imagine just how much pain she had gone through in the past few years. However, killing intent even more intense than before rose up from Jinshin's heart. It was killing intent for the ancestor of the Huanggu clan. "Senior Huang Tianba, let me undo your chains first," Jinshin said with a deep voice. Jinshin said in a low tone. Next, he gripped the thick iron chain with both hands and exerted a bit of force. With two cracking sounds, the iron chain binding Huang Tianba was instantly shattered by Jianshan. The chains were forged from a special metal, but they were not indestructible. It was just that Huang Tianba's strength had been sealed, so he was unable to use his strength as a saint ruler, which was why he had been bound by the chains for so long. Huang Tianba regained his freedom. He stood up from the ground as he trembled. He thanked Jianshan first before arriving before the ancestor of the Huanggu clan. He laughed in delight and clenched his teeth. "Bastard, you never thought that you'd end up like this, did you? I'd like to see how you'll harm my precious granddaughter now that you're like this." Huang Tianba's voice was filled with deep hatred. As he spoke, he kicked the ancestor of the Huanggu clan. However, as his strength had been sealed and he had been chained up for so long, not only did he fail to hurt the ancestor, but he even stumbled over himself. Jianshan supported Huang Tianba with one hand and said, "Senior Huang Tianba, I'll leave this person for you to deal with. Your strength has been sealed right now, so you should enter the artifact space first. I'll get someone to remove the seal for you." Jianshan was unable to remove the seal on Huang Tianba because chaotic force was too brutal. It was not something that ordinary people could endure. If his chaotic force entered Huang Tianba's body, not only would it not be able to help him, it would even harm him. "No, I have to kill this bastard right now to vent my anger." Huang Tianba was beyond furious. Killing intent surged from him as he hated the ancestor of the Huanggu clan. The ancestor of the Huanggu clan raised his head to look at the furious Huang Tianba. Not only was there no fear in his eyes, but he instead laughed complacently. "Haha, Huang Tianba, I don't think you're bold enough to kill me unless you want your precious granddaughter to die." Huang Tianba's face immediately changed when he heard that. He glared at the ancestor of the Huanggu clan and yelled out, "Bastard, what did you do to my granddaughter?" It was not just Huang Tianba. Even Jianshan's face became rather ugly. "Haha, Huang Tianba, since you want to know so badly, I'll tell you." The ancestor of the Huanggu clan was filled with complacency. Although he had ended up in Jianshan's hands, he did not fear for his life at all. "I've already used an ancient secret technique to leave behind an imprint of sharing life and death in your precious granddaughter's soul. If you kill me, the imprint hidden in your granddaughter's soul will explode as well, wiping out your granddaughter's soul. Huang Tianba, if you want your granddaughter to die, then go ahead and kill me." Huang Tianba and Jianshan's faces both sank when they heard that. If the situation really was as the ancestor of the Huanggu clan had said, they really did not dare to kill him. "Senior Huang Tianba, go remove the seal in the artifact space first. I'll go check on Luan immediately and see if it's really as he says," Jianshan said indifferently. Afterward, he pulled out the Saint artifact and sucked Huang Tianba in without any explanation. At the same time, he contacted the artifact spirit through his mind, telling the artifact spirit to tell Honglian and Blackfish to remove the seal for Huang Tianba. Jianshan obviously would not let go of the ancestor of the Huanggu clan who had lost his legs. He was sucked into the artifact space as well, but his treatment inside was completely different. All the clansmen of the Huanggu clan stood in the surroundings in a daze. Their faces became extremely mixed. They had no idea that the ancestor of the Huanggu clan would do something so disgraceful to the Huang family that they had always been on good terms with. All of them were extremely shocked and found it difficult to accept. They dare not show any disrespect to Jianshan at all. Although they did not know as much about Jianshan's reputation as the ancestor of the Huanggu clan, they had still heard a little about him. They knew that Jianshan was not someone their clan could afford to provoke right now. Not to mention that even their strongest ancestor had lost his legs to Jianshan so easily, which made it even more difficult for them to act rashly before Jianshan. Jianshan's face was sunken as he glanced past all the clansmen of the Huanggu clan. Anyone who made eye contact with Jianshan would feel like they were being stared at by a sharp sword. They would feel a chill from the bottom of their hearts as they lowered their heads. Their hearts were filled with unease. Jianshan did not make things difficult for them. He could tell from their expressions that they had been kept in the dark. They had no idea what the ancestor of the Huanggu clan had done. Afterwards, Jian-Chun expanded the senses of his soul and directly penetrated the ground. He found a tunnel that led to the secret room underground and made his way there. 1,000 meters underground, in the completely sealed secret chamber, Huang Wan, who was wearing a blue robe, was sitting cross-legged in the secret chamber. Her body was emitting a dazzling blue light, which was sacred and holy, as if she was a god. The surroundings of the room were filled with crystalline droplets of water. Every single droplet shone with a blue light, dyeing the gloomy room blue. It was a beautiful sight. A few droplets of water drifted around the room, circling around Huang Wan happily from time to time. They were like lively spirits that were filled with life. Right now, Huang Wan's presence was countless times more powerful than before because the 5-colored rainbow clouds had descended because of her. She was no longer a heaven saint master, but a saint ruler. Chapter 1068. Suddenly, the surging water-attributed energy in the room began to violently pulse. Even the droplets of water that floated in the air like happy spirits lost their ability to stay afloat. They all fell from the air, shattering when they hit the ground. The water attribute Yuan Qi that filled the secret room suddenly became very unstable. Huang Wan, who was sitting cross-legged in the secret chamber, slowly opened her eyes. Her enchanting eyes glanced at the water droplets on her face as she frowned slightly. Strange. Why do I suddenly feel like I'm unable to control the water-attributed energy? And the energy within me seems to have lost control, Huang Wan murmured to herself as she pondered. Huang Wan let out a low murmur and revealed a pondering expression. Then she seemed to have thought of something, and a glimmer of light flashed in her eyes. She said to herself, could it be because of the cultivation method? That old thing didn't give me the real, heavenly scripture of the sunflower water. The more Huang Wan thought about it, the more likely it seemed. Her face gradually became stern, but she soon recovered her previous coldness and calmness. She said softly, it doesn't matter whether the cultivation method the old bastard gave me is the true scripture of the aquatic sunflower or not. I've already become a saint ruler, so I'm countless times more powerful than a heaven saint master. Once that old bastard comes, I'll immediately put my life on the line against him. Even if I have to pay with my life, I won't let him have it easy. As long as the news of what happened here spreads, the people of the clan will definitely think of a way to save great-grandfather. Determination filled Huang Wan's eyes. She had already made up her mind to die. She no longer wished to live as freely as she did in the past. She knew that she would probably never be able to live the same life as before. Suddenly, a series of muffled rumbles sounded, and the heavy door of the secret room slowly opened. Huang Wan immediately dismissed her thoughts. Her eyes became extremely sharp in a single moment as intense, killing intent flickered in her eyes. She knew that the ancestor of the Huanggu clan had come. If she wanted to heavily injure the ancestor of the Huanggu clan, who was stronger than her, she needed to unleash her full strength while he was unprepared. Otherwise, she would be at an absolute disadvantage in an open battle. Rich and pure water attribute energy boiled in the secret room. In Huang Wan's hand, a 2-finger-wide blue longsword appeared. It was wrapped in a layer of intense blue light. Through the blue light, one could clearly see that there was a layer of water ripples flowing on the surface of the longsword. At this time, the door of the secret room was already half open. It was pitch black outside. A black figure was quietly standing outside the door of the secret room. He couldn't see his face clearly. In all these years, only a single person had come to the room, and that was the ancestor of the Huanggu clan. As a result, Huang Wan obviously treated the person who had opened the door as the ancestor of the Huanggu clan. Before the door was completely open, she directly stabbed out. This was the most powerful attack Huang Wan could unleash after charging up. She did not hold back at all, even using the strength of a first heavenly layer saint ruler beyond her limits. The sword tore through the air and immediately shone with blue light. It was as dazzling as the sun, dyeing the gloomy room blue. Powerful pulses of energy pulsed from the sword, causing the space there to distort. Black threads immediately appeared, creating spatial cracks. Huang Luan discovered that the water-attributed saint force within her began to pulse in an extremely unstable manner as she stabbed out. She felt like she was about to lose control. However, she no longer cared about that now. She focused all of her attention on the attack. She wanted to deal the heaviest strike while the enemy was caught off guard. She did not want to kill him, only injure him. The black figure outside the door did not become flustered at all. He did not try to dodge or block at all. He remained where he was and did not radiate with any energy at all. Huang Wan's attack was as fast as lightning. She arrived before the figure in a single instance and stabbed toward his chest mercilessly. The moment the sword struck the figure's chest, the sword shone with a blue light. Huang Wan discovered that the clothes and figure of the person before her were slightly different from the ancestor of the Huanggu clan. However, she no longer had the time to think about this. Boom! Huang Wan's all-out attack fiercely pierced into the chest of the black figure standing outside the door of the secret room. The surging and pure water attribute energy immediately burst out, producing a burst of oppressive rumbling sound. The strong energy aftermath turned into a terrifying shockwave that collided with the surrounding walls, causing the entire secret room to shake violently. If it were not for the fact that the room was tough enough, it probably would have collapsed from Huang Wan's attack. When Huang Wan saw that her all-out attack had actually accurately pierced her opponent, her heart immediately rejoiced. However, the trace of joy in her heart quickly dissipated into thin air. This was because she had already keenly felt that her sword did not penetrate her opponent's body as she had imagined. Instead, it was as if she had stabbed a piece of incomparably hard steel. The powerful rebounding force had actually shaken her arm to the point of numbness. Huang Wan's heart sank. She had already realized that the ancestor of the Huanggu clan had probably come prepared. Her full-powered attack had failed to harm him at all. Luaner! Just at this moment, a gentle voice entered Huang Wan's ears. Hearing this voice, Huang Wan's delicate body violently trembled because she was too familiar with this voice. It had even appeared frequently in her memory. Huang Wan stared at the figure standing outside the room in shock. Afterwards, with the blue light from the sword, she finally saw the figure's appearance. This was such a familiar face. Although there were some slight changes compared to a few years ago, this face had been deeply imprinted in the depths of Huang Wan's mind. Even after thousands of years, she would not be able to forget it. Huang Wan became stunned. She stared blankly at the figure that she had missed so much. She was unable to react for quite some time. At this moment, her heart was trembling, and her delicate body couldn't help but slightly tremble. 2 lines of sparkling and translucent tears even flowed out of her pair of bright and beautiful eyes, slowly sliding down her long cheeks. Jie Jianshen. Huang Wan's voice trembled slightly. At this moment, she struggled to believe that the person before her was not the ancestor of the Huanggu clan, but the person she had missed so much, Jianshen. At this moment, she felt like everything before her was a dream. It was not real. Luaner, you've suffered all these years. Jianshen softly said from outside the room. His voice was extremely gentle, but his heart throbbed with pain. The sword was still pressed against Jianshen's chest. Huang Wan's full-powered attack earlier had only managed to pierce through Jianshen's clothes. It had failed to injure Jianshen at all. Jianshen, is it really you? Huang Wan asked with a trembling voice. Large droplets of tears rolled down her cheeks, becoming more and more turbulent. The sword in her hand also began to tremble as it drooped down. Luaner, it's me. I've come to save you. You're safe now. No one will be able to hurt you in the future. Jianshen took a step forward and hugged Huang Wan tightly. His heart felt like it was being stabbed. He did not dare to imagine just how much Huang Wan had suffered, just how much pressure she had endured, and just how much suffering she had endured. There were countless people with tragic fates on the Tianyuan continent. There were even many people whose fates were thousands of times more painful than Huang Wan's. However, Huang Wan held an extremely important position in Jianshen's heart. He would never allow any harm to befall her. The sword in Huang Wan's hand slowly disappeared. The coldness on her face gradually vanished, replaced by a gentleness that had not appeared on her face for many years. Even her cold gaze rapidly softened. She then loudly called out Jinshin's name and threw herself into Jinshin's arms. She began to sob loudly, as if she wanted to vent all the pressure and suffering she had endured over the years. Jinshin hugged Huang Wan tightly. He could clearly feel that his clothes had been soaked by Huang Wan's tears. While he felt heartache for what Huang Wan had gone through, he also felt a sliver of joy. He was happy that Huang Wan had become a saint ruler now. Suddenly, Jinshin's eyes narrowed, and he frowned slightly. He could feel the energy within Huang Wan violently surging, as if it was completely out of her control. It surged wildly in her body, rampaging about. In the end, it actually charged out of her body with a bright blue light and arrived in the secret room. As the energy leaked out, Huang Wan's entire body began to shine with a bright blue light. It was extremely dazzling. "Wanner, what's going on?" Jinshin worriedly asked. He already sensed that something was wrong with what was happening. Huang Wan slowly calmed down. She raised her head from Jinshin's chest and no longer looked coldly at Jinshin. Instead, her gaze was filled with gentleness. She said, "Jinshin, there's probably something wrong with the scripture of the sunflower aqua that old bastard gave me. It's very difficult for me to control the energy in my body right now. I feel like all the energy in my body is about to break free and escape my control." With that, Huang Wan gently rested her head on Jinshin's chest again. Her face was filled with satisfaction and happiness. She did not care about the situation of her energy going out of control at all. She had already made up her mind to die long ago. Aside from Jinshin and Huang Tianba, she no longer cared about anything else. Since her great-grandfather had been saved and the person she missed the most was by her side, Huang Wan was very satisfied. She did not care whether she was a saint ruler or not. As long as Jinshin was by her side, she possessed the entire world. She did not care about anything else. "That old bastard, how dare he treat you like this? I'll definitely make him suffer a fate worse than death." Jinshin's face paled. He was filled with anxiety. He was unable to stop the energy from leaking out of Huang Wan's body at all. Suddenly, a streak of golden light shot out from between Jinshin's eyebrows. The saint artifact had already flown out from his sea of consciousness. It turned into a fist-sized, golden tower that slowly revolved in the room. Let's go to the artifact space." "Don't worry, I'll definitely get the solution from that bastard." Jinshin comforted her before wanting to take Huang Wan into the artifact space. "Jinshin." Just when Jinshin was about to enter the artifact space, a female voice rang out in the empty room. Her voice was beautiful, and it seemed to be filled with endless charm. It could steal souls. Chapter 1069. Huang Wan offers herself. "Esteemed Majesty Poseidon, why have you appeared here?" Jinshin asked in surprise. He was extremely shocked inside. "If I hadn't appeared, your friend would have been completely hopeless. Once all the energy and the potential of the water spirit's body completely dissipates, she would have become immortal. She would have lost an excellent water spirit's body for nothing." Poseidon looked at Huang Wan indifferently as he spoke in a gentle yet dignified voice. Jinshin immediately became extremely worried when he heard that Huang Wan might become immortal and that she was constantly losing energy. He hurriedly said, "Your Majesty Poseidon, please save Luan. Poseidon gently extended a finger. Although there was no earth-shattering might, the finger seemed to possess the power to freeze time and space. As he extended his finger, the pure water energy that slowly flowed through the room immediately froze. Even the energy that was constantly dissipating from Huang Wan's body seemed to be blocked by a mysterious force. It was firmly trapped within her body. Huang Wan's face immediately changed when she sensed the changes in her body. Shock filled her face because at that moment, she felt like the energy within her had become someone else's energy. It was completely out of her control. Although she had lost control of the energy within her body before, she could still control it slightly. She just did not have the power to stop it. However, she had completely lost control over the energy within her body now. It was as if the energy that she had spent so many years painstakingly cultivating had completely become someone else's property. It had become someone else's property. Poseidon used the power of a finger to freeze the pure water energy before looking at Jinshin. She said, "Jinshin, I can only use the power of my soul to forcefully control the energy and stop it from dissipating. If you want to save her, you'll have to rely on yourself." Seeing that Huang Luan was temporarily fine, Jinshin could not help but feel relieved. He asked, "Your Majesty Poseidon, what exactly do I have to do to make Luan retain her strength? Is it to find the correct cultivation method?" Poseidon shook her head and said, "I know a bit about the cultivation method she cultivates, the heavenly scripture of the sunflower aqua. This cultivation method was created several 100,000 years ago by an unprecedented genius. At the very beginning, there was only one portion of this cultivation method. It was an upper-level cultivation method of the water attribute. It was incomparably wondrous. With this cultivation method, that genius became a holy emperor in just a short 1,000 years. Later on, this prodigy met a woman with a water spirit body. The speed at which the water spirit body cultivates a water attribute cultivation method shocked this prodigy. Thus, this prodigy became curious about this woman with a water spirit body. After deliberately approaching her, he quickly became partners with this woman with a water spirit body. After that, as he came into contact with the water spirit body, this genius had a more thorough understanding of the water spirit body. After that, he relied on his extraordinary talent and spent tens of years to create the second part of the sunflower aqua heavenly scripture. He then gave the second part of the sunflower aqua heavenly scripture to his partner. This genius partner did not suspect anything and began to cultivate the second portion of the heavenly scripture of the sunflower aqua. However, she never thought that the second portion of the cultivation method was not some powerful cultivation method. Instead, it was a cultivation method that specifically targeted the water spirit body. After cultivating this cultivation method, not only did the energy within her body go out of control, even the potential of the water spirit body was stripped from her body. She ended up like your friend. Afterwards, the genius absorbed all the pure water-attributed energy in his partner and all the potential of the water spirit's body that had been stripped away. He converted it all into his own energy, which not only greatly increased his strength, but even his talent for cultivation increased as well. In the end, he became a saint emperor on the Tian-Yuan continent. His partner, on the other hand, lost all her powers and became immortal. She, who was originally beautiful, turned into a white-haired old woman in the blink of an eye. She committed suicide out of grief. Poseidon paused slightly when he reached there. He looked at Jinshin and continued, "Jinshin, you should understand now. Your friend cultivates the second portion of the heavenly scripture of the sunflower aqua. The person who gave her this cultivation method wanted to borrow the methods of that genius to absorb your friend's energy and the potential of the water spirit body through a special method and convert it into his own power." Jinshin and Huang Luan both fell silent when they heard Poseidon's words. They remained silent for quite a while. Poseidon's story had a great impact on the two of them. They both felt pity for the water spirit body that had been harmed by her husband. They felt deep sympathy for her. At the same time, Jinshin's killing intent for the ancestor of the Huanggu clan became even more intense. It had already reached its limit, but it did not erupt here. "Your Majesty Poseidon, what happened to that genius in the end?" Jinshin continued to ask. He cared about this very much. After the genius became a holy emperor, he became embroiled in a large-scale battle and died. His soul was wiped out, Poseidon said. Jinshin only felt great joy when he heard what happened to the prodigy. Although the prodigy's talent was unprecedented, he was a vicious person. Even his wife, who trusted him so much, was so cruel to him. He deserved to die. That woman is so pitiful. Huang Luan's face was filled with sympathy. As a woman who also possessed the water spirit body, she deeply felt pain for the woman's fate. "There's nothing pitiful about living in this world," said Jianshun. The sea goddess said. Although her tone was gentle, it was filled with a merciless coldness. She was one of the four supreme experts of the ancient era. She had walked step by step through a cruel fate, so she had seen too many things like this. After a moment of silence, the sea goddess continued. "Jianshun, there's only one way to save your friend and prevent her from losing her water spirit's body so that she can retain her current strength." "What way?" Jianshun was startled. He quickly tossed the story of the scripture of the aquatic sunflower to the back of his mind. He had experienced the cruelty of the Tianyuan continent personally, so he would not be affected by some stories so easily. At most, he would feel a little emotional. Huang Wan also turned her head to look at Poseidon. Although she still did not know Poseidon's true identity, she clearly paid close attention to the fact that he could solve her problem. Although Huang Wan had already seen through many things and did not place much importance on her own strength, she deeply understood that she needed to possess enough strength to stay by Jianshun's side. Once she lost her strength and became an ordinary person, her lifespan would be greatly reduced. She would also have to suffer the consequences of aging. If possible, she also hoped that she could retain her strength as a saint ruler so that she could stay with Jianshun forever. Poseidon did not reply immediately. His gaze became rather complicated. After a moment of hesitation, he said, "Jianshun, if you want to solve your friend's problem, you need to suppress the potential that has been taken away from her with even greater strength than your friend. Then, with my assistance, the water spirit body's potential will return to her body and reconstruct the water spirit body." Jianshun revealed a troubled expression. He said, "Your Majesty Poseidon, the strength I possess is far too great. I'm afraid that Huang Wan's body will not be able to endure it. Your strength is indeed very great. A normal person's body will not be able to endure it. However, don't worry, I have my own methods to weaken your strength. The water spirit body is not a normal body. If the two of you have sex, control the strength to enter her body slowly from the lower part of her body. After that, stay in the dantian of the water spirit body for a while and use pure water attribute energy to neutralize your tyrannical strength. Then, with my assistance, you'll be able to make her endure your strength," Poseidon said. "What? You want to use the method of sex?" Jianshun was immediately shocked. His face was filled with disbelief. At that moment, he even doubted his ears. Huang Wan's face immediately became crimson. She secretly glanced at Jianshun from the corner of her eyes before quickly burying her head in Jianshun's chest. She hugged Jianshun even tighter. "This is the only method I can think of. There is no other method other than this." Poseidon looked deeply at Jianshun. "BB, but this will hurt Luan." Jianshun hesitated. He dilly-dallied, unable to make up his mind. At the same time, he keenly sensed that Huang Wan, who was lying in his arms, was rapidly rising in temperature. Huang Wan slowly raised her head. Her pair of bright and beautiful eyes were filled with faint affection. She looked at Jianshun with infatuation. She gently opened her mouth and exhaled. "Jianshun, Luan belongs to you. No matter if it's Luan body or soul, they belong to you alone. In this world, only you are worthy of Luan Luan is not afraid of being hurt." As she spoke, Huang Wan's breathing became somewhat hurried. Her heartbeat also became more and more violent. Then, she slowly unbuttoned her clothes. Her aqua blue dress immediately slid down from her body, revealing her white as mutton fat skin. Luan looking at Huang Wan's exquisite and charming figure, Jianshun wanted to say something but stopped. Although he knew that Huang Wan had deep feelings for him, he still felt that he was taking advantage of her in this kind of situation. "Jianshun, you are the only one in Luan heart. Luan has belonged to you since a long time ago. Jianshun, Luan loves you very much. Take Luan Luan wants to become your woman." Huang Wan affectionately looked at Jianshun. Her hands slowly began to unbutton Jianshun's clothes. When it came to matters of the heart, Huang Wan was very straightforward. She would not deliberately avoid it. She was completely different from ordinary girls. Jianshun slowly closed his eyes. His heart seemed to be fiercely struggling. But soon his closed eyes opened again. The expression in his eyes was no longer hesitant, but decisive. Bang! Jianshun's body violently shook. A strong force burst out from his body, tearing his clothes to shreds, revealing his nearly perfect male body. Then, he opened his arms and tightly hugged Huang Luan's burning body. At the same time, his lips pressed against Huang Luan's cherry lips. Two naked bodies. Chapter 1070. The blue light that had dyed the entire secret room blue had disappeared. At this moment, the secret room had become completely dark. It was so dark that one couldn't even see one's own fingers. One could only hear the endless sounds of ecstasy, which made one's heart surge with lust. Jinshin's mind was clear in the dark room. Strands of chaotic force slowly separated from his dantian under his careful control, entering Huang Luan's body through a special method. He then followed Poseidon's method and stopped in her dantian for a while. Huang Luan's water spirit's body was indeed much more wondrous than regular constitutions. Even though she had lost control of the pure water-attributed energy within her, it was still as powerful as before. When Jinshin's strand of chaotic force stopped in her dantian, he indeed felt the brutal and destructive presence of his chaotic force rapidly weaken under the suppression of the pure water-attributed energy. Jinshin, I'll tell you the exact method to reconstruct the water spirit's body now. You have to follow it. Don't make a single mistake, or you probably won't be able to reconstruct the water spirit's body. Poseidon's voice rang out in Jinshin's head. She extended a finger, and the pure water-attributed energy immediately began to surge. It surged toward Huang Luan's body, entering her body in the end. The water-attributed energy and the potential of the water spirit's body that had just drifted out of Huang Luan's body returned under Poseidon's interference. Huang Luan's water spirit's body had been damaged ever since she began cultivating the second portion of the scripture of the aquatic sunflower. It was on the verge of collapse. If it were not for the sea goddess' timely arrival, Huang Luan probably would have lost all her power and become immortal. Afterwards, Poseidon passed on the method to Jinshin to reconstruct Huang Luan's water spirit's body. She also assisted from the side, using the power of her soul at the origin realm and her absolute control over water-attributed energy to reconstruct Huang Luan's water spirit's body with Jinshin. The water spirit's body was a special physique that only appeared once in 100,000 years on the Tianyuan continent. This physique was completely innate and could not be cultivated through cultivation. Huang Luan's water spirit body was on the verge of shattering, and even the energy and potential of the water spirit body within her body had begun to leak out. Under such circumstances, it was undoubtedly very difficult to reconstruct the water spirit body, or even impossible to accomplish. This was because the water spirit body was not an ordinary body. Facing such a strange body, even the Holy Emperor would be at a loss of what to do, let alone reconstruct it. This time, it was fortunate that Huang Luan had the help of the god of the sea race. Therefore, the water spirit body that made even the Holy Emperor feel helpless could be restored. The god of the sea race was one of the four supreme experts of ancient times after all. She was a supreme expert who had reached the legendary origin realm. As the sovereign of water, her understanding of the water spirit's body was unmatched. The reconstruction of Huang Luan's water spirit's body that was on the verge of shattering went extremely smoothly. Jinshin followed Poseidon's instructions, carefully completing every single step and detail. Finally, after an entire day, he successfully restored Huang Luan's water spirit's body. After the hidden danger in her body was completely resolved, Huang Luan immediately felt that her sensitivity towards water attribute energy had reached an unprecedented height. She also clearly felt that the compatibility between her body and water attribute energy had reached an unbelievable level. Now, she felt that as long as she willed it, she could instantly gather all the water attribute energy within a radius of dozens of miles for her own use. She had experienced this feeling before, but it was nowhere near as intense as now. Not only did the water spirit's body provide Huang Wan with heaven-defying talent for cultivation, but it also granted her supreme control over water-attributed energy, as well as an endless path in life. The chaotic force that had been separated from Jianshan and entered Huang Wan did not return to Jianshan. Instead, it remained in Huang Wan's body forever under Poseidon's control. It was refined into strands of pure water-attributed saint force by Huang Wan, turning into her own power. Although there was not a lot of chaotic force that had been separated from Jinshan's Dantian, a strand of chaotic force was refined from an ocean of energy after all. Just a tiny amount was enough for Huang Wan's strength to skyrocket, directly reaching the third heavenly layer from the first heavenly layer of Saint Ruler. Huang Wan's benefits did not stop there. Even her water spirit's body benefited tremendously. Her body had become even tougher. Although it was nowhere near as tough as Jian Chen's chaotic body, no one could match up to opponents of the same level. Aside from that, even the pure, water-attributed saint force in her body seemed to undergo some sort of subtle change. The problem of Huang Wan's water spirit's body had finally been resolved, allowing Jianshan to finally relax. The two of them finally separated. They both took out clothes from their space rings and put them on at the same time. The difference was that Jianshan was filled with mixed feelings, while Huang Wan was filled with sweetness, satisfaction, and happiness. Jianshan. Huang Wan could not help but gently call out Jianshan's name after putting on her clothes. She pressed herself against Jianshan again as a satisfied and happy smile appeared on her face. She lay on Jianshan's chest quietly, glued to him like glue. Jianshan gently embraced Huang Wan's delicate body as he used his nose to inhale the fragrance from her. He knew that Huang Wan had truly become his woman now. At the same time, she was the second woman in his life to have sex with him. The first was the cold and proud heavenly enchantress. Back then, the two of them had been restricted by special circumstances, so they had no choice but to do it when their lives were in grave danger. They had also been forced to do it under special circumstances like Huang Wan, but unlike the first time, Huang Wan had fallen in love. She had thrown herself into Jinshan's arms and offered herself to him. Sigh. Jinshan sighed inside. He could not help but think about the past. It was when he had accidentally met Huang Wan in the river outside Wake City. Now that he thought about everything that had happened when he first met Huang Wan, Jianshan could not help but sigh inside. Who would have thought that the girl he had accidentally met would develop such a relationship with him? Suddenly, Jianshan seemed to think of something. He quickly calmed down and said to Huang Wan, "Wan, did the ancestor of the Huanggu clan cast an ancient secret technique on you called life and death sharing on you?" Huang Wan nodded, but did not say anything. Jinshan's heart sank slightly after receiving confirmation. He then looked at Poseidon and said, "Your Majesty Poseidon, may I ask if you understand this secret technique and if you can undo it?" Although Poseidon had helped Jianshan a lot, Jianshan did not feel like he owed Poseidon because he knew that he would repay him in the future. Once the worldly ebb of the sea realm descended, it would be time for him to repay Poseidon's kindness. "I can reconstruct the water spirit's body for your friend in my current state, but I can't undo this secret technique. However, it's not difficult to undo it. You can take her to the Protector clan. They should be able to do something," Poseidon said. Afterward, Jianshan and Huang Wan bid farewell to Poseidon and left the underground room together. When they appeared above ground, they discovered that most of the clansmen of the Huanggu clan had already left. Only a small group of old people remained. During the time that Jianshan remained in the underground room, the Huanggu clan worried that Jianshan would vent his anger on the clan because of what happened to Huang Tianba and his granddaughter. As a result, they moved most of their clansmen away in hopes of leaving behind some descendants. Only a portion of old people who were loyal to the clan and were ready to die remained. If it was in the past, it was extremely likely that Jianshan would vent his anger on these people or even wipe out the entire clan. However, his strength had reached the level of the Holy Emperor now, so his mental state had changed slightly. Coupled with the fact that the clansmen of the Huanggu clan had no idea why Huang Tianba was trapped, he did not make things difficult for them. He left with Huang Wan and returned to the Huang family. The seal in Huang Tianba's body had been removed by Blackfish. Coupled with the fact that the artifact's spirit had personally healed him with Radiant Saint Force, Huang Tianba recovered extremely quickly. He had returned to his peak condition long ago. The ancestor of the Huanggu clan that Jianshan had thrown into the artifact space had been viciously tortured by Huang Tianba. He wished he was dead, but his life was spared because he had used a secret technique on Huang Wan. Huang Tianba and Huang Wan returned to the clan. The news of them being trapped in the Huanggu clan quickly spread through the entire clan, immediately causing a huge uproar in the Huang family. Afterward, Huang Tianba carried the sun and moon Bao on his back and personally led the experts of the Huang family to the Huanggu clan aggressively. He swore that he would wipe out the Huanggu clan and make it disappear from the Tianyuan continent. However, Jianshan and Huang Wan remained in the Huang family peacefully. They did not pay any attention to Huang Tianba's actions against the Huanggu clan. When Huang Tianba returned with the experts of the clan, Jianshan learned from Huang Tianba that he had already destroyed the Huanggu clan's territory with the sun and moon Bao. The original members of the Huanggu clan had also been attacked by the experts of the Huang family and completely wiped out. At the same time, the Huang family had sent half of their experts to hunt down the people of the Huanggu clan who had fled. They wanted to wipe out the descendants of the Huanggu clan. Chapter 1071. At dusk, the setting sun was as red as blood. Jianshan wore a white robe as he stood straight like a sword at the peak of the mountains. He stared at the red glow in the sky in a daze and did not move for a long time. Below his feet was a sea of white clouds. The mountain he stood on was the highest peak in a mountain range that the Huang clan occupied. The mountain was steep and the terrain was so steep that it was impossible to climb. The wind in the sky was very fierce, making ear-piercing whistling sounds. Mixed in with it were the roars of beasts coming from the forest in the distance. When the two were combined, it sounded like the wailing of ghosts and the howling of wolves. A white figure quickly flew over from the distance, arriving before the mountain Jianshan stood on in an instant. She then gracefully walked to Jianshan's side and gently hugged one of Jianshan's arms. Afterwards, she buried her head in Jianshan's shoulder and revealed a happy and satisfied expression. Huang Wan was the real Huang Wan. She wore a light makeup on her face. The person who had come was Huang Wan. Today, Huang Wan was dressed particularly beautifully. She wore light makeup, which made her already alluring appearance even more beautiful. Her bright eyes seemed to contain a strange attraction, which added a bit of charm to her innocence. Her hair was glossy and shiny, draping down her back like a waterfall. Today, she had specially worn a white, luxurious dress. Her clothes were whiter than snow, making her seem like a fairy. When she stood beside Jianshan, who was also wearing a white robe, they seemed like an immortal couple. Huang Wan snuggled up in Jianshan's arms. She was filled with happiness and joy as she stared at the red glow in the distance with Jianshan. Neither of them said anything. The blood-red sun gradually dimmed. The dusky sky gradually darkened. Just as the world was about to be enveloped in darkness, the sound of something rushing through the air rang out in the distance. A figure shot over like a meteor, arriving behind Jianshan in just a few breaths. "Nephew Jianshan, why have you called me here? What do you want to discuss with me?" Huang Tianba smiled and said. Even the way he addressed Jianshan had changed from little brother to nephew. Especially when he saw Huang Wan and Jianshan snuggling together, his heart was filled with joy. Now that her great-grandfather was here, Huang Wan felt embarrassed to continue being so intimate with Jianshan. She reluctantly let go of Jianshan's arm and looked at Huang Tianba with a slightly red face. She softly called out, "Great-grandfather." Looking at Huang Wan's bashful expression, he couldn't help but smile. Huang Tianba chuckled and nodded without saying a word. Jianshan slowly turned around and calmly looked at Huang Tianba. He smiled and said, "Senior Huang, Jianshan called you here because I have something important to tell you." Hearing something important, Huang Tianba immediately became serious and said, "Please speak, nephew." Jianshan paused for a moment and said, "Senior Huang, I want to bring you to Mercenary City and ask the spirit of the spirit formation to simulate the mysteries of the world to help you break through. I wonder if you are willing? What? Ask the spirit formation of Mercenary City to simulate the mysteries of the world to help me break through? Huang Tianba was shocked. His eyes widened to the size of copper bells as he stared at Jianshan. His face was filled with disbelief, and his heart was filled with shock. He simply did not dare to believe what he had just heard was true. Huang Tianba knew a little about the spirit formation of Mercenary City, but he did not know the details. However, there was one thing he knew. The spirit formation of Mercenary City had existed since ancient times. It was a product passed down from the ancient era. It was extremely powerful and had always been the guardian of Mercenary City. However, what he found hard to believe was that Jianshan could actually make the spirit formation of Mercenary City simulate the mysteries of the world to help others break through. This was just too shocking. This was because a similar rumor had never appeared on the Tianyuan continent. No one knew that the spirit formation of Mercenary City had such a wondrous use. Senior Huang, I wonder if you are willing to go? Jianshan looked at Huang Tianba with a smile that did not seem like a smile. I'm willing. Of course I'm willing. How can I miss out on such a great opportunity? Huang Tianba returned to his senses and hurriedly replied. He was afraid that he would miss out on such a rare opportunity if he answered too late. Afterward, Huang Tianba left overjoyed. He began to hand over some matters to the clan. The next morning, he left the Huang family with Jianshan and headed for the Chanyang prefecture of Lore City. Huang Wan left with Jianshan as well. Although the problem with her water spirit's body had been resolved, she still had not resolved the secret technique that the ancestor of the Huanggu clan had cast on her. During this time, Jianshan also went to find the ancestor of the Huanggu clan who was trapped in the artifact space. He wanted to learn the method of undoing the secret technique from him. However, the ancestor of the Huanggu clan was an old fox who had lived for over 2,000 years after all. He knew that the secret technique was his only method of survival. So how could he reveal it so easily? In the end, no matter what Jianshan did, he was unable to learn the method of undoing the secret technique from the ancestor of the Huanggu clan. Due to the restriction of the secret technique, Jianshan did not dare to harm the life of the ancestor of the Huanggu clan. With no other choice, he could only keep him alive for now. He would only deal with the ancestor of the Huanggu clan once he found a way to undo the secret technique in Huang Wan's head. Jianshan brought Huang Wan and Huang Tianba back to the Chanyang prefecture of Lore City very quickly. Huang Tianba and Huang Wan were no longer strangers to the people of Chanyang prefecture. They had known each other for many years, so they were warmly welcomed by the people of Chanyang prefecture as soon as they arrived in Chanyang prefecture. In particular, Jianshan's great-grandfather, Bai Hai, was a close friend of Huang Tianba. As soon as the two of them met, Huang Tianba was dragged away by Bai Hai to drink. Jianshan stayed in Chanyang prefecture for a day. The next morning, he left Chanyang prefecture with Bai Hai, Huang Tianba, Yang Ling, Huang Wan, and Changbo. They went to Mercenary City through the space gate constructed by Ruijin. Currently, they were the most trustworthy people by Jianshan's side. Although there was still Jitatai, Jianshan still did not completely trust Jitatai. As a result, he did not plan on taking Jitatai to Mercenary City for now. As for Chanyang Zhu Yunkong, he was unable to increase his strength as the seal in his head remained. Otherwise, it would only harm him. Big brother, you finally come. As soon as Jianshan arrived at Mercenary City, Xiaoling's illusionary figure appeared before him. Perhaps it was because she had seen Jianshan, but her childish and pure face was filled with joy. Jianshan could not help but smile when he saw Xiaoling. He had already begun to treat Xiaoling as his own sister. Xiaoling, how's Ming Dong doing? Big brother, the 3 strange furs in your friend's hands are not simple at all. They actually contain the mysteries of the world. Xiaoling used her own power to awaken them. And with Xiaoling's hard work, your friend has finally become a saint ruler. However, he's still cultivating right now, Xiaoling said complacently. Ming Dong has become a saint ruler as well, Jianshan murmured. He felt happy for Ming Dong inside. Jianshun, who are you talking to? A gentle voice rang out from beside him. Huang Wan hugged Jianshun's arm and asked curiously. Her bright eyes were filled with curiosity. She was not the only one. Even Huang Tianba, Bai Hai, Yang Ling, and Chang Wuji stared at Jianshun in surprise. Jianshun knew that they had seen Xiao Ling, but he did not explain. He said to Xiao Ling, they're all big brother's friends and seniors. I'll trouble Xiao Ling to increase their strength in the future. Xiao Ling nodded obediently. Okay, big brother, don't worry. Xiao Ling will definitely do her best to increase their strength. With that, Xiao Ling waved her arm, and Jianshun and the others immediately felt their vision darken. They had been taken underground by Xiao Ling using a technique. Even Rui Jin was no exception. When Jianshun and the others regained their vision, they discovered that they had appeared in a completely sealed room. There were no gaps in the room at all. It was completely natural. There was not even a door that led outside. Jianshun studied it slightly and knew that the room was completely forged from energy. It was probably something that Xiao Ling had specially prepared for by Hai and the others. Big brother, you can cultivate here in the future. Xiao Ling will manifest the mysteries of the world for you to comprehend. But whether you can comprehend it will all depend on you. Xiao Ling's illusionary figure reappeared before Jianshun, hovering in the air. This time by Hai, Huang Tianba, Yang Ling, Huang Wan, and Chang Wuji all looked at Xiao Ling at the same time. They could see Xiao Ling's figure now. Nephew Jianshun, is she the barrier spirit of Mercenary City? Huang Tianba could not help but ask. However, he stared at Xiao Ling without blinking. His face was filled with surprise. Jianshun nodded before introducing Xiao Ling to everyone. He left Huang Tianba, Bai Hai, Yang Ling, and Chang Wuji behind. Jianshun also took back the 3 beast furs that he had given to Mingdong. He then gave them all to Chang Wuji, hoping that Chang Wuji could break through to Saint Ruler as soon as possible. Chang Wuji's talent was rather mediocre. He had not reached Saint Ruler even after almost 1,000 years. Due to his age, he was extremely close to the end of his lifespan. So even if Jianshun used heavenly resources, it would not be very effective. Relying on Xiao Ling and the 3 beast furs in Mercenary City was Chang Wuji's final chance. If Chang Wuji still could not reach Saint Ruler with such great conditions, he would have no hope at all. Afterward, Jianshun asked Xiao Ling if she could break through the secret technique in Huang Wan's head, but the result left him extremely disappointed. Xiao Ling was an Origin Realm expert, but she was not an omnipotent god. The secret technique was an extremely profound, ancient secret technique. It was directly implanted into the soul of an opponent. Even the most powerful people would not be able to break through it unless they had the corresponding methods. Little Linkong was at returnance, so her battle prowess was extremely great. She could be said to be invincible on the Tian Yuan continent. However, she was far too lazy. She had basically spent all her time sleeping since ancient times, so she knew far too few abilities and secret techniques. As a result, she was unable to do anything about the secret technique that allowed her to share life and death. If Xiao Ling was compared to the sea goddess, Xiao Ling's strength at returnance might be slightly greater than Poseidon's, but in terms of knowledge, as well as secret techniques, Xiao Ling paled in comparison to Poseidon. Chapter 1072. Jianshun could not help but feel rather dejected when he saw how Xiao Ling was unable to do anything. He sighed inside. Looks like I can only ask Senior Tian Jian and the 10 Protector clans in the future. I hope I can obtain the secret technique that can resolve Huang Wan's problem. Jianshun and Huang Wan remained there, comprehending the mysteries of the world that Xiao Ling had created. Although Jianshun could unleash the strength of the 7th heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor with his Emperor armament, his comprehension of the mysteries of the world remained at the 7th heavenly layer of Saint Ruler. As a result, he was unable to create a space gate, even though he possessed the power to kill the Holy Emperor. He needed Rui Jin and Blackfish to assist him from the side the entire time. Right now, Jianshun only wanted to make up for his lack of comprehension of the mysteries of the world as quickly as possible. He did not hope to comprehend the mysteries of the world to the same level as his own strength. He only hoped that he could reach the level of the Holy Emperor in the shortest amount of time possible, so that he could create a space gate by himself. It had to be mentioned that Jinshin's talent was truly unprecedented. Both his cultivation speed and comprehension were extraordinary. Very soon, he was completely submerged in the mysteries of the world that Xiao Ling had created, fusing with his entire soul and mind to comprehend them in detail. When ordinary people comprehended the mysteries of the world, they would use all their effort to comprehend the world. The world they comprehended was hazy, a mixture of truth and falsehood. It was like a painting that was shrouded by a layer of mist. If they wanted to benefit from it, they had to break through the mist first. Only then would they be able to see what was truly behind it. Now that Jinshin and the others had Xiaoling's assistance, they could comprehend the mysteries of the world as if they were looking at the most realistic painting. They could clearly see what was on it without the mist, illusions, or obstructions of truth and falsehood. This allowed them to avoid many detours, making it much easier for them to comprehend the mysteries of the world compared to other saint rulers. This was not spoiling things through excessive enthusiasm. Although Xiao Ling had created the mysteries of the world, they still needed to comprehend, understand, and comprehend it themselves if they wanted to benefit from it. Otherwise, it would be like drawing water with a sieve. They would not benefit from it at all. Jinshin, Huangwan, Baihai, and Huang Tianba were completely immersed in the mysteries of the world. At that moment, the four of them felt that the mysteries of the world were actually so close to them. In their memories, they had never comprehended the mysteries of the world at such a close distance. At that moment, they could feel that the mysteries of the world were extremely clear. It was no longer as hazy as before. In the secret room where Chang Wuji was cultivating, the 3 bee skins had already flown up by themselves. A profound aura radiated from the bee skins, slowly encircling Chang Wuji. Chang Wuji seemed like a meditating monk. He sat there without moving at all. He was completely immersed in the mysteries of the world. He felt like he had vaguely understood something, but he was unable to grasp it. Yang Ling's burly body sat on the ground quietly as well. He did not have the assistance of the beast furs, so he could only work hard to comprehend the mysteries of the world that Xiao Ling had created for him if he wanted to reach sainthood. In the blink of an eye, Jinshin's group had stayed in Mercenary City for a year. Everyone had benefited greatly during that year, especially Jinshin. His comprehension of the mysteries of the world had finally reached the 8th heavenly layer, and he was still making his way toward the 9th heavenly layer. Baihai and Huang Tianba had benefited greatly as well. The two of them had reached the 6th and 5th heavenly layer of Saint Ruler many years ago, so they were close to the peak. Now that they had received Xiao Ling's assistance, they were able to comprehend the mysteries of the world in the most direct way, so they progressed extremely quickly. They both broke through their current levels of cultivation, reaching the 7th and 6th heavenly layers, respectively. Huangwan had only reached sainthood recently, and her strength had directly increased from the 1st heavenly layer to the 3rd heavenly layer because of Jinshin. Her foundation was nowhere near as stable as Huang Tianba and Baihai's, so her strength did not increase during the year of cultivation. However, it was not like she did not benefit at all. She had benefited greatly during the year of cultivation. Although she was still at the 3rd heavenly layer of Saint Ruler, her comprehension of the mysteries of the world had increased by quite a lot. She was making her way toward the 4th heavenly layer of Saint Ruler. Yang Ling and Chang Wuji remained the same as they had been a year ago. They did not seem to have made any progress. At the same time, a huge divine hall hovered above the Tianyuan continent in the cold, dark outer space. It was majestic and grand. The divine hall was completely white. It shone with a bright light, illuminating the dark space nearby. Inside the shrine, there was a majestic hall on the top floor. A huge throne was floating 3 meters high in the air, surrounded by a layer of moonlight power that could be seen with the naked eye. It emitted a gentle light, dyeing the entire hall white. On the huge throne, Yu held the moon god scepter in her hand as she sat cross-legged with her eyes closed. Waves of powerful energy undulations were emitted from her body from time to time. The moonlight energy surrounding the huge throne was endlessly absorbed into Yu Yu's body, causing Yu Yu's aura to continuously strengthen. Jianshun and the others cultivated with the help of Xiao Ling's comprehension of the mysteries of the world in the depths of Mercenary City. Yu Yu did not remain idle either. She remained in the empty divine hall all by herself, silently enduring the boredom and loneliness as she worked hard to increase her strength. Yu Yu's body had been modified by Fairy Hao Yue's pure moon essence. At the same time, she cultivated a cultivation method that surpassed the Saint Tier, the moon god's treasured reflection. Her rate of improvement was no slower than Huang Wan's water spirit's body, which only appeared once in 100,000 years. In just a year, Yu Yu had reached the 4th cycle. In just half a year, Yu Yu would become a 6th cycle Heaven Saint Master. Blackfish, Hong Lian, Kara, and Khazar Jinxiong, who had been drained of all their strength in the bright Moon Divine Hall a year ago, had recovered to their peak condition after absorbing a large amount of energy from the monster cores. Kara and Khazar Jinxiong had left the artifact space half a year ago. After bidding farewell to Jianshun, they directly returned to their clans. Kara Li Wei, who had been staying in the Saint Artifact space, also left the Saint Artifact space. First, she congratulated Sima Yu Yu on obtaining the Bright Moon Divine Hall. Then, she followed her clan's ancestor, Kara Luo, back to the Kara clan. However, when the matter of the Bright Moon Divine Hall was brought up, Kara Li Wei's expression was filled with envy. Rui Jin, Blackfish, and Hong Lian all remained in the artifact space. The three of them had reached great perfection of the Holy Emperor, and they were only a step away from the Holy Emperor. This step required them to work hard. The mysteries of the world that Xiao Ling had conjured were of no help to them. Within the territory of the Karl Empire, there was a mountain range that was enveloped by poisonous gas all year round. The mountain range was extremely famous in the Karl Empire, where almost every household knew about it. This was not only because it had existed in the empire for over 100,000 years, but also because the mountain range had claimed the lives of countless adventurous mercenaries and experts. Even hermit saint rulers had died in the mountain range before. As time went on, the mountain range became a forbidden ground in the eyes of countless mercenaries and experts of the Karl Empire. It was even given the name of the Soul-Burying Mountain. The Soul-Burying Mountain was not deathly silent. Instead, it was filled with life. Countless green plants and towering trees that had existed for hundreds or even thousands of years grew there. There would be one or two magical beasts leaping through the dense forest from time to time. It seemed no different from a regular forest. However, the only difference was that the Soul-Burying Mountain was filled with poison. The poison was present everywhere. Not only was it present in all the plants, but even the soil was poisonous. It was fatal to Earth's Saint Masters. At the same time, the poison became more and more intense as one ventured deeper into the mountain range. In the end, even Heaven's Saint Masters would struggle to resist it. All the magical beasts that lived there were extremely powerful poisonous beasts without exception. At this moment, there was a barren mountain in the depths of the Soul-Burying Mountain. A vast amount of poisonous gas gathered around the mountain. It was so dense that it had almost liquefied. Even the high-class beasts that lived there did not dare to approach it. The interior of the mountain was a huge space that had been hollowed out. Fist-sized luminous pearls were embedded in the ceiling of the cave. They shone brightly, illuminating the dark interior of the mountain. In the center of the mountain, a middle-aged man in his 40s was sitting cross-legged like a stone sculpture. He wore a black robe and was wearing a black robe. The middle-aged man's appearance was average. He had a resolute expression, and the muscles on his face looked a little stiff. It was as if this was a face that never smiled, which added a sense of righteousness to it. On the middle-aged man's forehead, there was a very eye-catching scar. It was ferocious and terrifying, and it ran across his entire forehead, causing people to tremble in fear. Beside the middle-aged man was a sword that was around a meter long. It was stabbed into the ground. Although the sword seemed ordinary, it radiated with a tremendous pressure, causing people to shiver. Suddenly, the middle-aged man's closed eyes snapped open. Immediately, two strange lights shot out from his eyes. One of his eyes was sharp, bright, and filled with determination, while the other shone with a demonic light. The light in his eyes flickered, as if a will-o'-the-wisp was leaping about. Chapter 1073. The middle-aged man suddenly stood up, and immediately, a tremendous presence radiated from his body. It turned into a visible force that surged through the surroundings, causing the mountain to tremble slightly. Venerable Poisoned Word, don't worry. I'm not someone who goes back on my word. I'll definitely do what I've promised you. Once I've avenged the Bai family, my body will belong to you. I won't resist at all. The middle-aged man's eyes were filled with determination. He was ready to face death with equanimity. Kiki, good. I trust you, but I hope you can move faster. Don't make me wait for too long. The unpleasant, hoarse voice rang out in Bai Dao's head once again. It seemed to be impatient. Bai Dao said nothing more. With a wave of his hand, the sword stabbed into the ground beside him immediately erupted with an extremely great force, viciously slamming into the mountain. With a boom, the entire mountain collapsed. It had actually been pulverized by the supreme force that had erupted from the sword. My dwelling, Bai Dao, you brat. Do you know that this is the dwelling that I built with great difficulty all those years ago? Why? Venerable Poison Word, you'll be able to see the light of day again soon. Do you still care about a mere dwelling? Bai Dao said coldly without any expression. He clenched his hand and gripped the sword beside him tightly. The sword was no ordinary weapon. It was the heaven-quaking sword, a saint weapon left behind by the Holy Emperor at the 9th heavenly layer. It was the saint weapon of Venerable Poison Word, a peak expert who had shaken up the continent 5,000 years ago. Venerable Poison's Word immediately fell silent when he heard Bai Dao's words. Bai Dao remained silent. Holding the heaven-quaking sword in one hand, he immediately shot off like a cannonball, charging into the sky in a single moment. After determining the direction, he shot off into the distance with lightning speed. He was instantly submerged in the dense, poisonous mist. Hellfire City was a king-level city within the Karl Empire. Both in terms of scale, area, and prosperity, it was only second to the 7 capital cities of the Tianyuan continent. Hellfire City had a history of tens of thousands of years in the Karl Empire. Its walls were made entirely of fine iron and were extremely sturdy. They could effortlessly defend against the attacks of Class 5 magical beasts. Throughout history, these sturdy walls of Hellfire City had withstood over 100 waves of magical beasts. Each time, they would emerge unscathed. There were several tens of millions of people living in Hellfire City. In addition to the daily flow of people, the total number of people living in Hellfire City was close to 100 million. With such a large population, it was only natural that there would be many experts in Hellfire City, as well as many clans and forces of various sizes. The Bloodcloud clan was the most powerful clan in Hellfire City right now. It used to be the second most powerful clan in the city, but ever since the Bai family was wiped out in a single night 50 years ago, the Bloodcloud clan had completely replaced the Bai family's position in the city, becoming the undisputed #1 clan in the city. This was because there was a new saint ruler in the Bloodcloud clan. This saint ruler was not the ancestor of the clan. Instead, he was a prodigious junior of the clan. With his great talent, he had become a saint ruler in just a few hundred years and had even become the disciple of an imperial protector of the Karl Empire. He was greatly valued and was nurtured as a future pillar of the empire. As a result, the Bloodcloud clan status in Hellfire City was like the midday sun. They were revered by everyone. Suddenly, a tremendous presence appeared outside the city. A figure had already turned into a faint blur, flying over the walls of the city at an extremely low altitude. He directly flew into the city and did not slow down at all. He flew toward the center of the city with a pressuring presence, alarming countless people along the way. The figure flew over half of Hellfire City in a high-profile manner before finally landing in front of a large mansion at the very center of the city. This mansion was where the #1 clan of Hellfire City, the Bloodcloud clan, resided. This figure wore a black robe and exuded a powerful aura. It was so oppressive that it was difficult to breathe. His long hair and black robe fluttered without any wind. He stared at the mansion in front of him in a daze. His eyes revealed a look of reminiscence, mixed with deep sorrow. The 4 burly guards at the entrance of the Bloodcloud clan glanced at the black-robed figure in fear. Without saying anything else, they immediately ran back to the clan to report the situation. They did not dare to stay a single moment longer. The tremendous presence from the black-robed figure made them shiver in fear, causing their legs to tremble. Over the years, they had seen many experts, but this was the first time they had felt such a powerful aura. This aura contained a great pressure, and the guards felt as if their souls were about to be crushed by this aura. Before the guards could report, all the experts of the Bloodcloud clan sensed the terrifying presence from outside. Immediately, a vigorous but extremely polite voice rang out from within the clan. "May I ask which senior has come as a guest to my Bloodcloud clan? I am the patriarch of the Bloodcloud clan, Yu Zixing. I represent all the members of the clan in welcoming senior." With that, a handsome middle-aged man in golden robes slowly walked out from within the clan. Although the middle-aged man walked at a steady pace, he crossed several dozen meters with each step. In just a dozen steps, he arrived before the entrance, bowing to the black-robed figure politely. Yu Zixing. He was the prodigy of the Bloodcloud clan who had reached Saint Ruler in less than 1,000 years. He had become the disciple of an imperial protector of the Karl Empire, so he was greatly valued. At the same time, he was the patriarch of the Bloodcloud clan. Soon after, figures flickered within the clan. Several Heaven Saint Masters and a group of Earth Saint Masters arrived from all directions. They all stood behind Yu Zixing and sternly studied the black-robed figure who radiated with such a tremendous presence. They had no idea why he had come. The black-robed man stood ramrod straight like a javelin in front of the entrance of the Bloodcloud clan. His eyes were absent-minded as he stared at the golden plaque with the words Bloodcloud clan written on it. His expression was extremely complicated. There was reminiscence, pain, and anger. "I've been gone for 50 years. I never thought that Hellfire City would have changed so much. That glorious clan of the past has already become a memory of the past. Now, it's completely different. Not a single memory remains." The black-robed figure murmured to himself. The sorrow in his eyes became heavier and heavier. In the end, it rapidly turned into an ice-cold, killing intent. At that moment, the reminiscence and pain in his eyes vanished, becoming abnormally cold. Suddenly, the black-robed figure stabbed the sword in his hand into the ground. Immediately, a terrifying storm of energy erupted from the sword. As if it was under someone's control, it charged toward the Bloodcloud clan with an unstoppable force. "Senior, what is the meaning of this?" The prodigy of the Bloodcloud clan, Yu Zixing, paled in fright. He immediately retreated while Saint Force surged out from his body, forming a barrier that protected him and the experts behind him. Under the impact of the terrifying energy storm, Yu Zixing and the others did not suffer the slightest bit of damage. However, the Bloodcloud clan's gate and walls were not spared. They collapsed one after another and were quickly submerged in the smoke and dust that filled the sky. Even the plaque made entirely of purple gold hanging above the gate fell down. The black-robed man took a step forward and punched the purple gold plaque that had yet to fall to the ground, shattering the incomparably hard plaque into pieces. More and more people gathered in the Bloodcloud clan. Many guards and clansmen had arrived. They all hid behind Yu Zixing as they stared at the collapsed walls and doors in shock. The disturbance from the Bloodcloud clan obviously alarmed the people in the surroundings. Very soon, many people gathered in the surroundings to watch the show. There were even a few Heaven Saint Masters who hovered several hundred meters in the air, watching from afar. Yu Zixing's face became extremely ugly. He asked with a heavy voice, "I am Yu Zixing. My master is Mo Jian, Imperial Protector. Senior, may I ask how my Blood Cloud clan has offended you? Please enlighten me. The black-robed figure's gaze finally landed on Yu Zixing. His gaze was cold and emotionless. He said, "Do you know who I am?" Yu Zixing carefully studied the black-robed figure. A sliver of confusion appeared in his eyes. He said, "Junior is ignorant, so I hope Senior can forgive me. I hope Senior can enlighten me." Yu Zixing did not dare to be rude, because he had already determined that the black-robed man in front of him was a peerless powerhouse whose strength was comparable to his master. If he offended such a person, perhaps even his master would not be able to protect him. "My name is Bai Dao," the black-robed figure said emotionlessly. Yu Zixing immediately shuddered when he heard the name. Shock filled his face as he cried out, "What? Your surname is Bai. Are you a member of the Bai family?" Yu Zixing's heart churned as a great fear spread through him. This was because the estate of the Blood Cloud clan had been built where the Bai family used to be. 50 years ago, the news of the Bai family being wiped out in a single night had shaken up the entire Hellfire City. Now, not only had the Blood Cloud clan replaced the Bai family as the greatest clan in the city, they had even taken over the ruins of the Bai family. If this terrifying person from the Bai family misunderstood that the destruction of the Bai family had something to do with the Blood Cloud clan, Yu Zixing really did not dare to imagine what kind of impact the Blood Cloud clan would suffer. Chapter 1074. By Dao's right, I became rather demonic, as if a will-o'-the-wisp was leaping about. He then took a step forward and arrived before Yu Zixing in an instant. The heaven-quaking sword in his hand pressed down on Yu Zixing's shoulder with a great pressure. He said, "Speak, who was responsible for the massacre of my Bai family all those years ago?" I don't know. Senior, I really don't know. That matter has nothing to do with our Blood Cloud clan." Yu Zixing trembled in fear. The pressure from the king weapon seemed to have invaded his soul, making him lose all will to resist at that moment. Although he was a saint ruler, he had only just broken through. He was still a first heavenly layer saint ruler. A powerful killing intent flashed through Bai Dao's eyes. He said, "Since you don't know, what's the point of keeping you alive?" Without giving Yu Zixing a chance to explain himself, the heaven-quaking sword swung down, directly cutting off Yu Zixing's head. At the same time, a powerful energy shot out from the heaven-quaking sword, entering Yu Zixing's head and obliterating his soul. A genius saint ruler had died, just like that. By Dao's right, I desperately flickered. "God damn it, you brat, why did you kill him? Didn't you hear that his master was the Imperial Protector of the Karl Empire?" Dao's expression did not change at all. He ignored Venerable Poison Sword's roar and slowly glanced past the estate. He murmured, "This place belongs to the Bai family, and it will always be. No one can take this sacred ground away from me. I'll kill anyone who tries to take it away." Bai Dao spoke very softly, but it was filled with killing intent. Every single person in the Blood Cloud clan heard him clearly. Afterward, he coldly glanced past the people of the Blood Cloud clan and continued, "I'll spare the life of whoever tells me who is responsible for the destruction of the Bai family." All the people of the Blood Cloud clan paled as their legs trembled. They were utterly terrified. None of them dared to say anything. Yu Zixing was a hermit saint ruler, yet his soul had been wiped out in such a fragile manner. This was a very great blow to their morale. Bai Dao's eyes filled with killing intent. He murmured, "Since you don't know, you can all go die." Bai Dao slowly raised the heaven-quaking sword before swinging it down. Boom! Boom, boom, boom. A series of loud explosions rang out from the center of Hellfire City. The number one clan of Hellfire City, the Blood Cloud clan, had been annihilated in an instant. Not a single person was left alive. They followed the same fate as the Bai family back then. That luxurious mansion had already been turned into ruins. Boom! In the ruins of the Blood Cloud clan, the black-robed Bai Dao stood with his arms crossed as he stared at the ground in a daze. His eyes were empty as he reminisced about the past, as if he was trying his best to remember the past. The king weapon, the heaven-quaking sword, was stabbed into a tough rock beside him. It radiated with an invisible pressure, causing all the people in the surroundings to tremble in fear. No one dared to approach it. They watched from afar as they discussed with each other in low voices. Behind Bai Dao stood a huge stone pillar that seemed to reach into the sky. A row of large words had been carved onto it. Descendant of the Bai family has returned with the beast fur. Come take it if you want. A powerful clan that could rival a hermit clan had actually been wiped out in a single moment. This was probably nothing special on the Tianyuan continent, where conflict raged on a daily basis, but it caused an uproar in Hellfire City. After hearing that the Bloodcloud clan had been wiped out, the city lord immediately hurried over from his estate with a group of personal guards. However, he only hid in the crowd and watched from afar, not daring to show himself. Especially when he saw the ruins of the Bloodcloud clan, there was no need to mention how terrified he was. All the large clans in Hellfire City arrived where the Bloodcloud clan had been. Without any exception, all of them hid far away as they stared at the black figure in the ruins in fear. At that moment, the black figure seemed like a demon from hell in their eyes. He was just so terrifying. The thick stone pillar in the center of the ruins became the focus of everyone's attention. When they saw the bold words engraved on the pillar, many people immediately guessed Bai Dao's identity. He was actually a member of the Bai family that had been wiped out 50 years ago. An old man in dragon robes and a crown sat in his study in the imperial palace of the Karl Empire as he read with great interest. Although he was the only one in the quiet study, there was only him. There was only one person, but in a few empty corners, a huge aura could be felt from time to time. The old man was the king of the Karl Empire. Although he was not powerful, he possessed great authority. The way the Karl Empire was governed was different from the Holy Emperor Empire. The empire seemed to be ruled by the imperial family on the surface, but was actually secretly controlled by the three great clans. The imperial family was only a puppet in the hands of the three great clans. Even the throne of the Holy Emperor Empire was rotated between the three great clans. The Karl Empire, on the other hand, was a powerful empire completely ruled by the imperial family, just like the Felicity Empire. At this moment, the space beside His Majesty the King fluctuated slightly. A black-clothed man, covered in a black robe, silently appeared in the study and respectfully handed over the item in his hand. He respectfully handed over a secret letter and said, "Your Majesty, this is an urgent letter from Hellfire City." The king raised his eyes and slowly put down the book in his hand. He began to read the letter, and a while later, he frowned slightly. The Bloodcloud clan of Hellfire City has actually been destroyed. Even Yu Zixing is dead. Yu Zixing became a saint ruler in just 500 years, so it's extremely likely that he'll become the Holy Emperor in the future. Sigh, it's a pity that such a genius has died so early. The king folded the letter again and passed it to the black-clothed person beside him. He said, "Go, give this letter to Mo Jian, Imperial Protector." "Yes, Your Majesty." The black-clothed person replied politely before vanishing with the letter. Behind the Karl Empire, in the forbidden area of the palace, an old man in a white robe with a face full of wrinkles was sitting cross-legged on a prayer mat with his eyes closed. The old man looked very ordinary. Other than the expensive robe he was wearing, there was nothing eye-catching about him. "Esteemed Imperial Protector, Shrouded One has come under the orders of His Majesty to deliver a secret letter to the esteemed Imperial Protector." Suddenly, a respectful and rather emotionless voice rang out from outside. "Come in." The old man on the cushion did not open his eyes as he spoke with his old voice. The door opened, and the black-clothed man from before walked in with his head lowered and back-bowed. He respectfully handed the secret letter that the king had read to the old man. The old man slowly opened his eyes. His gaze was deep, like the vast starry sky. He slowly raised his hand to accept the letter, opened it, and began to read it. However, in the next moment, the old man's face suddenly changed. His indifferent gaze sharpened at that moment. Two streaks of light actually shot out from his eyes like two sharp swords. It was extremely terrifying, causing the space before him to tremble slightly. Yu Zixing was actually killed in Hellfire City. Preposterous, preposterous. Who is so daring to even kill my disciple? Mo Jian's voice was filled with anger. The old man flew into a rage and suddenly stood up from the futon. The secret letter in his hand had already been shattered into pieces. Oomph, old man. I like to see who's bold enough to not show me any respect in the Carl Empire. The old man's face was pale white. With a wave of his hand, space was immediately ripped open. A crack quickly formed into a space gate. With a single step, the old man vanished. In Hellfire City, the black-clothed Bai Dao stood like a statue in the ruins of the Blood Cloud clan. He did not move for quite some time. More and more people gathered 1,000 meters away from him. All of them pointed at the ruins of the Blood Cloud clan as they discussed. The Bai family that had almost been forgotten by everyone 50 years ago was slowly being remembered once more. A descendant of the Bai family has returned with a piece of beast fur. Those who want it, come and take it. Is it someone from the Bai family that was wiped out back then? Is it related to that beast fur? A descendant of the Bai family has returned in such a high-profile manner. He probably wants to draw out the vicious beast that wiped out the Bai family back then and take revenge for his family. But just what level of cultivation has this descendant of the Bai family reached? Even a saint ruler like Yu Zixing isn't his opponent. That's just too terrifying. Discussions like this constantly rang out in the crowd. The words that Bai Dao had carved on the stone pillar had answered many people's questions. Suddenly, a multicolored space gate appeared above the Blood Cloud clan. Before the person had even arrived, a presence that blotted out the surroundings filled the surroundings. It swept out in a mighty manner, actually enveloping the entire Hellfire City. Everyone in the city stopped what they were doing at that moment. They all stared at the sky in shock. Although many of them could not see the space gate in the sky, they could sense where the presence came from. Bai Dao finally moved from where he stood like a statue in the ruins of the Blood Cloud clan. He slowly raised his head and glared at the space gate in the sky. His face did not change at all. Chapter 1075. Bai Dao's eyes shone with a different light. He did not seem to hear Venerable Poison Sword's exasperated words at all. The voice stared expressionlessly at the spatial door in the sky. That one eye, which could be considered normal, revealed a somewhat grave expression. The boulder that the sword was stuck in suddenly exploded. An extremely dense energy wrapped around the sword, which was only 3 fingers wide. After shattering the boulder, it flew into Bai Dao's hand as if it had a mind of its own. The earth-shattering aura wreaked havoc in the surroundings. Finally, a white-robed old man with a face covered in wrinkles slowly walked out of the spatial gate. Immediately, an incomparably domineering aura radiated from his body, deeply intimidating everyone in Hellfire City. It was as if a peerless king had descended. The old man looked down from above. His face was cold and arrogant. His eyes shone brightly as he stared at Bai Dao in the ruins. He growled, "Who are you? Why did you kill my disciple?" Bai Dao showed no fear. He stared at the old man and asked emotionlessly, "You're Yu Zixing's master, the imperial protector of the Carl Empire, Mo Jian?" "That's right, I'm old man," Mo Jian coldly replied. Bai Dao's eyes were icy cold as he said, "The land beneath my feet belongs to my Bai family. No one can take it away from me. I'll kill anyone who tries." Mo Jian slightly frowned when he heard that. He glanced at Bai Dao in disbelief and growled, "You're a member of the Bai family?" The Bai family was a powerful clan that possessed a saint ruler in the past, so Mo Jian had heard of them before. However, what he did not understand was when such an expert had appeared in the Bai family. Yes, Bai Dao's expression did not change at all. Mo Jian shivered. "Since you're a member of the Bai family, you're a member of my Carl Empire. Technically speaking, you're not an outsider. However, you need to give old man an explanation for killing my disciple, Yu Zixing. If you want an explanation, I'll give you one," Bai Dao said with a deep voice. A tremendous battle intent surged from his body, surging into the sky and causing the clouds to churn. The heaven-quaking sword in his hand erupted with a shocking sword chi as well. "Bai Dao, you brat, my strength is nowhere near my peak right now. I can't afford to waste it like this. Don't resist, and let me take control of your body. We need to end this battle quickly, or once I run out of energy, we'll both die. Venerable Poison Sword's voice rang out in Bai Dao's head. Bai Dao said nothing. He slowly lowered his head. At that moment, no one noticed that the light in Bai Dao's left eye was rapidly fading away, becoming hollow in the blink of an eye. However, a strange light suddenly appeared in his left eye. It flickered and was filled with an evil presence. Right now, both of Bai Dao's eyes had become evil, as if two will-o'-the-wisps were leaping about in them. Suddenly, Bai Dao's body shot up from the ground, shooting into the sky like a rocket. The heaven-quaking sword in his hand also erupted with a bright green light. This was an extremely potent poison. Not only was Venerable Poison Sword powerful, but he was also an expert in poison as well. Not only that, he was an expert skilled in using poison. The poison he controlled was no weaker than Nubi's poison. The Imperial Protector of the Karl Empire, Mo Jian, could not help but frown when he saw how resolute Bai Dao was. He actually wanted to fight as hard as he could. Although Yu Zixing was his disciple, there was no master-disciple relationship between them. Mo Jian was indeed extremely furious when he heard that Yu Zixing had been killed, but that was mostly because of his pride. After all, his disciple had been killed in the territory of the Karl Empire. It was basically a provocation and an insult to him. Back then, Mo Jian believed that the person who had killed Yu Zixing was a saint ruler, which was why he had hurried over furiously. However, when he arrived in Hellfire City, he discovered that the person who had killed Yu Zixing was actually a holy emperor. His thoughts of avenging his disciple immediately dissipated by a lot. He would not offend a holy emperor for no good reason for the sake of someone he had no feelings for as a disciple, especially when the holy emperor was from the Karl Empire and had destroyed the Blood Cloud clan for revenge. As a result, Mo Jian decided not to pursue this matter any further. He had only asked Bai Dao for an explanation so that he could find a way out of this embarrassing situation. However, he had never thought that not only would Bai Dao refuse to cooperate, he would even force him into a corner. Heaven-quaking sword Cloud Piercer. Without giving Mo Jian any time to prepare, Bai Dao struck out first. With a bellow, the heaven-quaking sword in his hand immediately surged with poison. Dense green light completely enveloped the sword before stabbing out with a tremendous amount of energy. With a stab, the heaven-quaking sword instantly disappeared into the void. However, in the next moment, it strangely appeared in front of Imperial Protector Mo Jian. The powerful poison and terrifying energy perfectly merged into one, mercilessly stabbing towards Imperial Protector Mo Jian. Mo Jian immediately became stern. He could clearly sense just how powerful the attack was, which left him extremely shocked. Only at that moment did he suddenly realize that while Bai Dao's presence was fluctuating, his strength was no weaker than his own. He could even sense the mysteries of the world that far exceeded the fifth heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor from the attack, which left him even more shocked. Without any hesitation, Mo Jian drew his saint weapon as quickly as he could. His weapon was a huge, single-handed sword that was as wide as a palm. As soon as it appeared, the vast amount of energy within him surged into it. He stabbed out with all his strength, colliding with the heaven-quaking sword. Boom! With a deafening boom, the two terrifying energies collided violently in the air. Space was instantly torn apart, forming a black hole with a diameter of over 30 meters. The entire sky shook violently. After the attack, the heaven-quaking sword turned around and flew back into Bai Dao's hand. On the other hand, Mo Jian's body violently trembled as his expression immediately became rather ugly. Although he was not injured from blocking Bai Dao's attack, he was at a disadvantage. At the same time, a powerful poison gas had entered his body. He had never seen this poison gas before, but it was extremely powerful, forcing him to suppress it with 50% of his strength. Bai Dao stood in the air emotionlessly with the heaven-quaking sword in hand. The light in his eyes constantly pulsed. He coldly said, "I wonder if this is enough. If it's not, I'll give you an even more satisfying explanation." Mo Jian stared at Bai Dao in shock. He stared into Bai Dao's eyes. His instincts told him that there was something strange about the person before him, but he was unable to pinpoint the exact reason. Mo Jian took a deep breath and slowly calmed himself down. After a moment of silence, he had no choice but to pull a long face and say, "Sir, you are also from the Karl Empire. My Karl Empire has once again gained such a strong person. This is truly a cause for celebration. As for that useless disciple of mine, he dared to occupy your family's territory. He was simply asking for trouble and deserved to die." Mo Jian had already admitted defeat. From the previous exchange of blows, he already knew that he was definitely not the opponent of the person in front of him. Offending such a strong enemy for a person who did not have the slightest bit of relationship as master and disciple was really not a wise choice. Mo Jian paused slightly before continuing to speak to Bai Dao. "Sir, your strength is extraordinary, and you're also a member of the Karl Empire. If you're willing, you can come to the Imperial Palace at any time to take up the position of Imperial Protector." With that, Mo Jian no longer stayed. He turned around and flew off into the distance. Hold on, just who was bold enough to wipe out the Bai family all those years ago? Bai Dao coldly asked. Mo Jian paused. He glanced back at the huge stone pillar in the ruins and said, "I've been cultivating in the palace all year round and haven't interfered with the affairs of the world for several hundred years. If you want to find your enemy, you can go to the palace and find the king. I think he'll be very willing to help you." Mo Jian hurriedly left through the space gate, while Bai Dao descended from the sky, returning to the ruins. The flickering light in his eyes slowly calmed down. In the end, his gaze sharpened. "Brat, you better be more careful when you do things in the future. Just that alone took up 20% of my strength. If it weren't for the fact that I had the foresight to deter that person with my absolute strength, I probably would still be tangled up with that person. If the battle had continued for a long time, I would have lost without a doubt." Venerable Poison Sword's exasperated voice rang out in Bai Dao's head. Bai Dao said nothing. Instead, he focused on his dantian. A thumb-sized pearl silently hovered there. The pearl was completely condensed from energy, so the energy hidden within was extremely terrifying. The pearl contained Venerable Poison Sword's power. It had been sealed in there using a special method, so the Venerable could use it as he wished while Bai Dao could use a small portion of it. However, once the energy within the pearl was depleted, it would be very difficult to replenish. Compared to before, the energy sealed within was indeed 20% less. Bai Dao did not go to the Imperial Palace of the Karl Empire. Instead, he waited silently in the ruins. His instincts told him that those people would definitely come. In the blink of an eye, night had fallen. The entire sky was shrouded in darkness. In an extremely remote place on the Tianyuan continent, a huge, pitch-black palace stood silently in a mountain range. It gave off a cold presence, as if the palace was the residence of a demon. It was hair-raising. Yama, a descendant of the Bai family, has appeared in Hellfire City of the Karl Empire. He has carved the words "Return" with the beast fur on a stone pillar. "Please make your decision." A hazy voice rang out from the dark palace. It was filled with an evil presence. "What? A person of the Bai family has returned to Hellfire City with the beast fur? Is that true?" A hoarse voice rang out from the pitch-black palace. It sounded like the howl of a ghost. "It's absolutely true. However, the person of the Bai family seems to be very powerful. He fought against an imperial protector of the Karl Empire in Hellfire City and remained undefeated." Chapter 1076. In the blink of an eye, 7 days had already passed since the destruction of the Blood Cloud clan in Hellfire City. During those 7 days, the matter of Hellfire City had spread like wildfire across the entire Karl Empire. In particular, the descendant of the Bai family who had wiped out the Blood Cloud clan in less than 10 minutes had become the focus of everyone's attention. With that, various rumors regarding the descendant of the Bai family and the destruction of the Bai family began to spread, filling the entire Karl Empire. The imperial family of the Karl Empire did not make any response to the destruction of the Blood Cloud clan. Ever since Imperial Protector Mo Jian had visited a few days ago, there had been no activity at all. They clearly did not want to interfere with Bai Dao's matters. After all, Bai Dao was a member of the Karl Empire, and he was a supreme expert on par with the Holy Emperor. He was someone the imperial family wanted to rope in. So why would they offend over a dead saint ruler? During those 7 days, Bai Dao remained in the ruins of the Blood Cloud clan without moving at all. He did not take a single step away from the place. The heaven-quaking sword was stabbed into the ground beside him. Although its glow was concealed and it seemed extremely ordinary, the invisible pressure it gave off still existed. It slowly permeated the surroundings, causing the heaven-quaking sword to become anything but ordinary. There were still a large number of people gathered around the ruins of the Blood Cloud clan, watching from afar. In the past few days, these people had come and gone. There were even a large number of people who had come from far away, just to catch a glimpse of the Saint Emperor. Very soon, darkness enveloped the land once more. The bustling city gradually quieted down, and the people gathered around the ruins of the Blood Cloud clan all dispersed. Only the black-robed Bai Dao remained standing there tirelessly. At this moment, Bai Dao could not help but think of a few matters of the past. The faces of the descendants of the Bai family appeared in his head one by one, causing his cold gaze to soften slightly. So many years have passed. I wonder how Xiangtian is doing. He's the only descendant of my Bai family. I hope he's still alive. Little sister, after this big brother avenges the annihilation of his clan, I will search for the enemies who killed you. Even if I have to search to the ends of the earth, this big brother will definitely find them and use their blood to pay tribute to your heroic spirit. Little sister, rest in peace. This big brother will not let you die in vain. Bai Dao was filled with deep sorrow. When the Bai family was destroyed back then, only he and his sister, Bai Yuntian, had managed to escape. Now that Bai Yuntian was dead, he was the only direct descendant of the Bai family. Suddenly, a feeling of loneliness appeared in Bai Dao's heart. At that moment, he felt extremely lonely, as if he was the only person of the glorious Bai family. In the past few years, he had remained in the soul-burying mountain that was enveloped by poison all year round. He had only emerged a few days ago, so he had no idea what had happened on the Tianyuan continent. Even now, he still did not know that his sister, Bai Yuntian, had been revived by Jianxun and that his nephew was no longer the puny saint ruler of the past. Instead, he had become the renowned Holy Emperor. Suddenly, an icy breeze blew past. In that instant, all the sounds in the surroundings seemed to vanish without a trace. Hellfire's city, which was shrouded in darkness, seemed to have become a deathly, silent ghost city. Bai Dao's head immediately cleared up. He dismissed the stray thoughts in his head as well. He slowly raised his head and looked around emotionlessly. 10 figures had silently appeared in the surroundings at some point in time. Their bodies seemed to have fused with the darkness. Although they stood there openly, it was extremely easy for people to overlook them. It was very difficult to sense their existence. The 10 figures that seemed to have fused with the darkness stood there silently. None of them said anything, nor did they give off any presences at all. The atmosphere was rather strange. Extremely heavy killing intent immediately appeared in Bai Dao's eyes when he saw the 10 people surrounding him. He could still clearly remember that on the night of the Bai family's destruction several decades ago, it was done by a group of people dressed in the same way as them. You've finally come. I've been waiting for you for many days already. Bai Dao's voice was extremely cold. Bai Dao's voice was extremely frigid. A powerful killing intent radiated from his body without any attempt to hide it. He slowly pulled out the heaven-quaking sword from the ground as it radiated with a great pressure. None of the 10 men said anything, but their exposed eyes all landed on the heaven-quaking sword in Bai Dao's hand. Some greed appeared in their cold eyes. Speak. Who are you, and what organization do you belong to? Bai Dao continued when he saw how the people remained silent. The 10 people stood there silently. Their bodies seemed to have fused with the darkness. None of them answered Bai Dao's question. No wonder we didn't find the beast fur after destroying the Bai family. So there were still survivors of the Bai family who managed to escape with it. At this moment, A hoarse voice rang out from nowhere. It was impossible to tell where the voice came from. One of Bai Dao's eyes began to flicker violently as he stared straight ahead. Right in front of him, in the originally empty night, a humanoid shadow slowly appearing in a very strange manner. Just who are you? Bai Dao stared at the black figure. Through his instincts, he could tell that the person before him was the leader. Survivors of the Bai family. If you want to know who we are, hand over the beast fur first, the black figure sneered. Killing intent surged in Bai Dao's eyes. He coldly said, "If you want the beast fur, then take it from me. However, you probably don't have the ability to do that with just you." With that, the heaven-quaking sword in Bai Dao's hand immediately erupted with a dazzling green light. Powerful poison and terrifying energy fused together perfectly, erupting from his sword. Swish! Bai Dao stabbed out with lightning-like speed, directly targeting the person who seemed to be the leader. "It really is the Holy Emperor," the black figure exclaimed. The black-clothed man let out a low cry of surprise, and his eyes instantly became serious. With a flip of his hand, a small black dagger appeared in his hand. The dagger was only the size of a palm, and it emitted a thick black light. Through the black light, one could vaguely see a cold light flashing. "Kiss of the venomous scorpion," the black figure called out, and the dagger immediately shot out as a blur. With a violent boom, the dagger collided with the heaven-quaking sword. The sound of the explosion shook up the entire city. Countless people who had fallen asleep were roused from their slumber. In just a few seconds, the dark city had been lit up by countless candles, illuminating it. Bai Dao and the black figure were on par with each other in this clash. Bastard of the Bai family, you are indeed very powerful, but you can't keep the beast fur. If you know what's good for you, hand it over obediently, and I'll spare your life. Otherwise, this day next year will be the anniversary of your death, the black figure sneered. Bai Dao said nothing. He gripped the heaven-quaking sword tightly in his right hand as Venerable Poison Sword's voice rang out in his head. "Brat, you won't be able to defeat him even if you exhaust all my energy. Let me take care of him." The light in Bai Dao's eyes became strange once more. He relinquished control of his body, handing it over to Venerable Poison's word once more. An indescribable presence immediately radiated from Venerable Poison's word as soon as he took control of Bai Dao's body. He seemed to have fused with the surroundings, becoming a part of the world. A mere fourth heavenly layer, Holy Emperor dares to act so arrogantly? You're looking to die. Venerable Poison Word sneered in disdain. He slowly raised the heaven-quaking sword and stabbed out. Not only did this stab contain a powerful energy and poison, but it also contained the profound mysteries of the world. Not only did Venerable Poison's word use much less energy to stab out the same as Bai Dao's attack, but its power was several times greater. Illusory waves. The eyes of the black figure became even more stern. With a deep bellow, the dagger in his hand danced wildly, forming a string of blurs that filled the space before him. They shot out as strands of energy. However, when these powerful strength chis came into contact with the heaven-quaking sword, they all dissipated into thin air with a series of explosions. The heaven-quaking sword was like an indestructible divine sword as it advanced forward like a hot knife through butter. In an instant, it arrived in front of the black-clothed man and pierced through his chest. The black figure bellowed out and immediately retreated. He removed the heaven-quaking sword from his chest and yelled out, "10 Kings slash." The eyes of the 10 black figures in the surroundings changed. Every single one of them radiated with a tremendous presence, which intertwined with each other. Then, they intertwined in midair, forming an even more powerful aura. Then, the 10 of them simultaneously took out their saint weapons and slashed out a powerful sword chi towards the sky. The 10 strands of darkness attributed sword chi fused together in the air and quickly turned into a demonic face. It charged toward Bai Dao with its claws and fangs. The disdain on Bai Dao's face became even thicker. He mocked, "An attack from 10 ninth heavenly layer saint rulers is only as powerful as the second heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor. Is that all you've got? With that, he casually stabbed out with a heaven-quaking sword. A powerful sword chi shot into the sky and shattered the demonic face. Let's go. The black figure with the dagger no longer remained. With a deep bellow, he immediately turned into a black blur and shot off into the distance. The 10th heavenly layer saint rulers did not hesitate either, silently fleeing into the distance. Chapter 1077. Bai Dao and the 11 black-clothed people chased each other out of Hellfire City very quickly. Although they had only clashed twice in the city, it was without a doubt an earth-shaking disturbance. Everyone in the city was thrown into an uproar. There were even quite a few Heaven Saint Masters who took to the air and hurried to where the Blood Cloud clan was. They all hoped to watch a battle between experts and help their future cultivation. However, they were fated to come up empty-handed. By the time they arrived at the ruins of the Blood Cloud clan, it was already empty. Even the powerful descendant of the Bai family who had been there the entire time had vanished. For a moment, the disappearance of the descendant of the Bai family and the sounds of battle that rang through the city became a cloud of suspicion. It troubled the hearts of the people in the city, and various rumors began to spread. The descendant of the Bai family has killed the disciple of the Imperial Protector, Emojian. The Imperial Protector has already gathered his friends to capture the descendant of the Bai family. The descendant of the Bai family has wiped out the entire Blood Cloud clan. He has already angered a supreme expert and has been captured. It's probably because the beast hide the descendant of the Bai family has brought to the attention of some experts on the continent, resulting in an intense conflict. The descendant of the Bai family is no match for them, so he has already fled. I think it's extremely likely that the enemy who wiped out the Bai family has reappeared. After a battle, they discovered that they were not the descendant's opponent, so they fled. The descendant of the Bai family chased after them. The descendant of the Bai family is so powerful that even the Imperial Protector can't do anything to him. I don't think there's anyone on the continent who's willing to provoke him. I think an enemy of the Bai family has appeared. Various rumors rang out in every corner of the city. The matter had already attracted the attention of everyone in the city, but no one knew the truth. They could only make wild guesses. Bai Dao kicked up a violent gust of wind outside the city as he pursued the 11 black-clothed people with surging killing intent. He was so fast that he had already turned into a faint blur. In front of him, the 10th heavenly layer saint rulers had completely fused their presences together. They had used a special secret technique to condense all their energy, maintaining a certain distance from Bai Dao as they fled into the distance. Whenever Bai Dao was about to catch up to them, their speed would suddenly increase, instantly widening the distance between them and Bai Dao. Very soon, Bai Dao and the group of black-clothed people had already traveled for an entire day and night. They moved extremely quickly, crossing several 100,000 kilometers in a single day. Brat, something's off. Looking at how they're acting, they seem to be purposefully baiting you. Be careful. Venerable Poison Sword's voice rang out in Bai Dao's head. Don't worry. I'm not stupid. I know what I'm doing. Bai Dao replied coldly. Now that his enemy was right before him, his killing intent began to boil. He knew that he could finally avenge the blood feud that had accumulated in his heart for 50 years. In the blink of an eye, another 3 days passed. Bai Dao had already traveled over 1 million kilometers in pursuit of the group of black-clothed people. It was already late at night. The thick, dark clouds seemed to weigh down from above, completely blotting out the moonlight. The night was extremely dark, so dark that it was impossible to even see one's own fingers. After 4 days of pursuit, Bai Dao still pursued relentlessly. He refused to give up, but determination filled his eyes as he thought, the people who wiped out my Bai family are even more powerful than I imagined. There's actually a holy emperor and 10th heavenly layer saint rulers. If I want to avenge my family, I need venerable Poison Sword strength. Otherwise, I probably won't have the chance to take revenge with my talent. Venerable Poison's word, you share a body with my soul, so don't think I don't know that you're constantly adapting to my body. Once you've completely adapted to my body, it'll probably be time for you to forcefully take over my body and devour my soul. At that time, there'll only be one outcome regardless of whether I can take revenge or not. Since that's the case, why don't I take the risk? My life no longer belongs to me anyway. With that thought in mind, Bai Dao pursued the 11 people fearlessly. It didn't matter if there was a mountain of blades or a sea of flames before him. Nothing could stop his advance. This was because he knew that even if he encountered great danger, it would not be his problem. It would be Venerable Poison Sword's problem. Right now, Bai Dao only wanted revenge. The 11 people entered a barren mountain range with Bai Dao. They quickly moved through the pitch-black mountains before fleeing into a pitch-black palace. Bai Dao saw the huge palace, but he did not hesitate at all. He continued to charge in without slowing down at all. "Brat, stop! You can't go in. It's a trap." Venerable Poison Sword's frantic voice rang out in Bai Dao's head. The light in Bai Dao's eyes flickered as well. Venerable Poison's word wanted to forcefully take control of Bai Dao's body. Venerable Poison's word, "The strongest of my enemies is only at the 4th heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor. They pose no threat to you, but this is their nest. I want to flip it over and turn this place into a river of blood and a sea of corpses," Bai Dao roared. Bai Dao bellowed out. His flickering eyes quickly stabilized, replaced by a pair of cold and determined eyes in the end. The body belonged to Bai Dao after all. Venerable Poison's word and Bai Dao fought for control of the body and were successfully suppressed by Bai Dao. "Bastard, Bai Dao, you brat. Don't let your hatred get to your head. Wake up and stop. It's a trap inside. Don't go in. Even if you want to die, don't drag me in with you." Venerable Poison's word was flustered and exasperated as he furiously roared. However, Bai Dao completely ignored him. He turned into a black blur and charged into the palace. As soon as Bai Dao entered the palace, the doors immediately closed. It was pitch black inside, where nothing could be seen. Suddenly, a scorching presence surged out. The temperature in the palace began to skyrocket. Black flames erupted from the ground, forming a strange formation that trapped Bai Dao. "God damn it, this is a formation. Brat, you've been trapped in a formation," Venerable Poison's word cursed in exasperation. His hatred for Bai Dao had seeped into his bones. "Ha ha 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 ha, remnant of the Bai family. Welcome to the Yama Hall, one of the 3 great assassination organizations of the Tianyuan continent. You're the first guest of my Yama Hall in 1,000 years, so I'll let you properly experience the scenery of my Yama Hall." An unpleasant voice rang out from nowhere. It sounded like the weeping of a ghost. The laughter was extremely sinister and terrifying. "God damn it, it's actually the famed assassination organization of the Tianyuan continent, the Yama Hall. I've actually been trapped here. Bai Dao, you brat, you've done me in," Venerable Poison's word wailed. Venerable Poison's word let out a powerless wail. If his strength was at its peak, he would be able to charge into the Yama Hall. However, he was currently in the form of a soul and did not possess the strength he once possessed. Being trapped here, there was practically no hope of escaping. So what if it's the Yama Hall? Venerable Poison's word. You were someone who stood at the apex of the continent in the past. You didn't even fear the 10 protector clans. So how can a mere assassination organization stop you? I'll let you control my body now and avenge me, Bai Dao said to Venerable Poison's word. Bai Dao said to Venerable Poison word, but he could not help but think of his sister, Bai Yuntian. He sighed inside, "Sister, I'm useless. I probably won't be able to avenge you. Brat, what's the point of letting me control your body now? The Yama Hall is infamous and has stood on the Tianyuan continent for over 100,000 years. How can they be so easy to deal with? Especially when a brat like you actually came to their lair of your own accord. Why? You're infuriating me." Venerable Poison's word cursed as he controlled Bai Dao's body. He gripped the heaven-quaking sword in his right hand as he sternly stared at the rising black flames. They were black flames. Heaven-quaking sword style, heaven-cleaving form. Suddenly, Venerable Poison's word bellowed out, and the heaven-quaking sword immediately erupted with surging energy. He raised the sword high into the air and stabbed it toward the ceiling of the hall. With a loud boom, the entire palace shook violently. However, Venerable Poison Sword's sword attack, which had the power to destroy the world, did not damage the palace at all. It did not even leave a single crack on the palace. Ha 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 ha. You still want to break through the divine hall and escape? I'd advise you to give up. This divine hall was created by the Holy Emperor. Unless you can unleash an attack as powerful as the Holy Emperor, you won't be able to break through it. Sinister laughter rang out from the dark space once again. What? This is a divine hall. Venerable Poison's word paled in fright. His face immediately became ashen as his mind trembled violently. He no longer held onto any hope, and his hatred for Bai Dao had reached its limit. He was tempted to devour Bai Dao's flesh and blood right now. At this moment, a black-robed person sat on a throne in a pitch-black hall at the very top of the divine hall. Below him, 10 people dressed in the same way as him sat in 2 neat rows. Yama, the remnant of the Bai family, has been trapped in the divine hall. Should we go kill him right now and take the beast fur? One of the people below asked. His voice was cold and emotionless. The Yama who sat at the front was the Holy Emperor who had fought against Bai Dao with a dagger in Hellfire City. In the end, he had been repelled by Venerable Poison's word. He was now the highest leader of the Underworld sect. The 10 people below him were the 10 Protector Kings of the Underworld sect. Their status was only second to the Yama. There's no hurry. The remnant of the Bai family is very powerful. He's at the Holy Emperor's 6th heavenly layer at the very least. We may be able to kill him, but we'll suffer quite a lot as well. It's not worth it. Since he's been trapped in the Divine Hall, it's impossible for him to escape. It's just a pity that the Divine Hall's control is still in the hands of the previous Yama. I can only use a small portion of the Divine Hall's power, and I can't activate all the formations in the Divine Hall. Otherwise, there would be no need for us to personally kill him. Just the power of the Divine Hall would be enough. The previous Yama was heavily injured and has already been in seclusion for 1,000 years. After 1,000 years of recovery, I think he's mostly recovered. Let's just wait for the previous Yama to emerge from seclusion before we deal with him. The Yama's voice was filled with helplessness. The Yama Hall had suffered heavy losses in the battle against the Bloodsword sect 1,000 years ago. They had lost many experts and still had not fully recovered. Although they possessed the strength to kill Bai Dao now, they would lose quite a few experts as well. They did not dare to take the risk, so they could only trap Bai Dao and Venerable Poison's word in the Divine Hall. Chapter 1078. The disturbance in Hellfire City settled down very quickly. However, ever since the battle that had erupted that night, the descendant of the Bai family who had destroyed the Blood Cloud clan never appeared again. In the Holy Empire, in a mountain range tens of thousands of kilometers away from the City of God, there was a small wooden hut that stood alone on the highest peak. Even though it had been buffeted by the cold wind for many years, the hut seemed to have taken root in the ground. It stood there steadily, never swaying at all. The furnishings in the cabin were very simple, so simple that it was hard to believe that this was a place where people lived. Other than a wooden bed, a table, and a stool, there was nothing else. However, the inside of the cabin was very clean and spotless. On the wooden bed, a beautiful middle-aged woman in a dark green dress was quietly lying there with her eyes closed. She was graceful and luxurious, exuding an exuberant heroic spirit between her brows. Her bearing was extraordinary. Although she was already middle-aged, she was still as beautiful as a flower and as beautiful as the moon. With a single glance, one could tell that she must have been a devastatingly beautiful woman when she was young. Beside the bed sat a middle-aged man in white robes. His expression was sorrowful and pained, and his face was somewhat haggard. His thick hands were gently holding the middle-aged woman's white, jade-like hands. Kaiyun, you've been unconscious for an entire year. I know that you've sealed yourself off because you're heartbroken. You don't want to wake up? Kaiyun, I've let you down. I'll let you down. I'm too ashamed to face you. The person who should be punished like this should be me, not you. Kaiyun, why are you so foolish? Kaiyun, can you hear me? Don't be so stubborn. Don't continue like this. Please wake up. Do you know how sad and painful it is to see you like this? How Wu sat beside Zar Kaiyun as he gently murmured while holding her hand. His face was filled with pain. Ever since he had brought Zar Kaiyun back from the City of God, she had been unconscious the entire time. She had never woken up. Kaiyun, perhaps Mu can wake you up. Am I supposed to go find Mu? His heart was filled with bitterness. He knew extremely well that whether it was him or Zar Kaiyun, Mu deeply hated both him and Zar Kaiyun. Getting Mu to use her zither to awaken Zar Kaiyun was almost impossible. And if he really did that, it might even deepen Mu's hatred for him. What should I do? What should I do? Kaiyun, when are you going to wake up? In the blink of an eye, another 2 years passed. It had now been 3 years since Jianshan had arrived in Mercenary City. At this moment, in the secret room that Xiao Ling had condensed with energy deep beneath Mercenary City, the white-clothed Jianshan sat there like a statue without moving at all. Not a single ripple of energy radiated from his body. In the silent and cold secret room, space seemed to beat rhythmically like a heart. A profound aura filled the entire secret room, containing an indescribable truth of the world. Jianshan sat there just like that, using the mysteries of the world that Xiao Ling had condensed to comprehend the truths of the world and the laws of the world. After 3 years of painstaking study, Jianshan's rate of improvement was indescribable. During those 3 years, his comprehension of the mysteries of the world had gone from the 7th heavenly layer of Saint Ruler to the 9th heavenly layer. At the same time, he had remained at the 9th heavenly layer for a year, reaching the peak of the 9th heavenly layer. He was only a step away from the Holy Emperor's level of comprehension. Baihai and Huang Tianba remained at the 7th and 6th heavenly layer of Saint Ruler. Their talent was nowhere near as great as Jianshan's. So even with Xiao Ling's assistance, they were unable to maintain the rate of improvement of a minor level every year. However, with their current rate of comprehension, they only needed 3 more years to break through again. The reason why they could break through at the same time within a year was because they had remained at the same level of comprehension for many years. They were at the peak of a minor level of comprehension, which was why they could break through so quickly. Even so, the two of them were overjoyed. If they had to comprehend the mysteries of the world and break through on their own, it would take them at least a few dozen years, or even 100 years to break through a minor realm. With Xiao Ling's assistance, they've been able to shorten the time needed to break through by a few times, or even over a dozen times. Huang Wan's strength rapidly increased over the past 3 years. She had reached the 4th heavenly layer of Saint Ruler now. Only Chang Wuji and Yang Ling remained as Heaven's Saint Masters. Chang Wuji's talent was rather mediocre. Although he had consumed heavenly resources, he had basically reached the end of his 1,000-year lifespan. His current situation was rather lacking. Even with the assistance of the 3 beast furs, he was unable to completely comprehend the mysteries of the world. He remained at the peak of Heaven's Saint Master. On the other hand, Yang Ling had not broken through, but he still had an extremely long lifespan. As a result, breaking through was only a matter of time for him. Suddenly, the mysteries of the world that filled Jianshan's secret room began to pulse violently. The space around Jianshan seemed to be greatly affected as well. It began to violently tremble, causing the vision in the room to distort. Jianshan, who sat in the center of the room, began to blur as well. In the end, he actually vanished into the distorted space. The clear sky above Mercenary City immediately darkened. A thick layer of clouds silently formed, enveloping the entire city. The thick layer of clouds blocked out the sunlight, blotting out the sky. At the same time, it rapidly expanded, reaching over 100,000 kilometers. The originally bright Mercenary City had become dark in a single moment. The sudden change of weather made everyone in the city stop what they were doing. At that moment, all the people in the city raised their heads to look at the sky. Surprise and curiosity filled their eyes as discussions constantly rang out. No one knew what was happening. The speed at which the clouds gathered was unbelievable. It did not seem like a storm at all. Just as everyone was intensely discussing the sudden appearance of the clouds, a tremendous pressure suddenly appeared. It viciously pressed down from the sky, enveloping the entire mercenary city. Mixed in with the pressure was a profound, incomprehensible truth of the world. Immediately, everyone felt like a huge rock was pressing down on their chests, making it difficult for them to breathe. A few weaker people even felt like they were about to suffocate. This is the mysteries of the world. Someone has broken through to become a saint ruler. No, I've personally witnessed the birth of a saint ruler. It was impossible for them to produce such a powerful pressure, and the mysteries of the world that descended were nowhere near as powerful as this. Has someone become a saint ruler? The birth of a saint ruler is accompanied by 5-colored auspicious clouds. If it's a holy emperor, there will be 7-colored auspicious clouds. We'll know whether the person who broke through this time is a saint ruler or a holy emperor when we see the color of the auspicious clouds. Everyone, look, there's color. The auspicious clouds have appeared. Mercenary City was filled with experts. Many of the knowledgeable experts saw through the secret of the strange, dark clouds with a single glance and immediately cried out. Their eyes were filled with deep envy. Soon after, a dazzling rainbow light tore through the darkness and appeared in the thick layer of clouds. The colors quickly became gorgeous, growing from 5 colors to 7 colors very quickly. The entire layer of clouds was dyed in a riot of colors. It was extremely enchanting. It's the 7-colored auspicious clouds. It's the 7-colored auspicious clouds. A saint ruler has broken through to holy emperor. Just who has broken through? Is it an elder of Mercenary City? From now on, Mercenary City has gained another unrivaled expert. The crowd burst into an uproar. They were extremely excited. Being able to personally witness the birth of a holy emperor was something that they could only come across by chance, because there were extremely few holy emperors on the Tianyuan continent. It was very difficult for a single holy emperor to appear out of several billion people. The appearance of the 7-colored auspicious clouds alarmed all the upper echelon of Mercenary City. A group of people led by Tianjian had already appeared in the air. They all stared at the auspicious clouds in surprise. Grand Elder, just who has broken through in our Mercenary City. Why can't I sense it at all? Could it be that the person who has broken through is not in our Mercenary City, but somewhere else, and our Mercenary City just happens to be within the range of the auspicious clouds? An elder of Mercenary City asked politely from behind Tianjian. Tianjian stared at the auspicious clouds in the sky as a sliver of surprise appeared on his face. He said, "The clouds are centered around Mercenary City, so the person who has broken through is in Mercenary City. However, he's hidden himself very well, so even I can't sense where he is." At this moment, there was a sudden change. The tremendous pressure that filled the world rapidly weakened. In just a few seconds, it vanished without a trace, as if it had never appeared in the first place. The rainbow clouds in the sky rapidly faded as well. After a few seconds, they turned into nothingness, reappearing in the azure sky. Tianjian frowned slightly when he saw this. Surprise filled his eyes as he cried out, "What's going on? Why have the auspicious clouds vanished?" When someone breaks through to the Holy Emperor level, the auspicious clouds will last for 7 days. But the auspicious clouds have just formed, so why have they vanished so quickly? I've never seen or heard of something like this before, and there's no record of it in the records. An elder beside Tianjian sighed. Tianjian stared at the sky that had returned to normal as he pondered. A while later, he seemed to understand something and sighed. He said regretfully, "That person has failed to break through." Failed? How is that possible? Once the auspicious clouds appear, it's definitely a success. How can there be a failure? What a strange story, what a strange story. The rainbow auspicious clouds had only appeared for less than 10 breaths of time before disappearing without a trace. Such a strange scene left all the elders of Mercenary City puzzled, and a great cloud of suspicion rose in their hearts. The knowledgeable people in Mercenary City quickly connected the dots and sighed in pity. At that moment, Many of them felt extremely sorry for the person who had broken through. He was just about to break through to the Holy Emperor level and become a supreme expert that no one dared to provoke on the Tianyuan continent. Yet he had suddenly failed at the final moment. Just how great a blow was this? Jianshan suddenly opened his eyes in the depths of Mercenary City. He furiously stood up and roared at the sword spirits in his sea of consciousness. Xing, Qingsu, why have you come to make trouble? I was about to become a holy emperor, yet I failed because of you. Why are you stopping me from breaking through to the holy emperor level? Chapter 1079. Jianshan stood in the secret room furiously. He was filled with regret and reluctance. This was the holy emperor's realm. This was the realm he had been looking forward to for a very long time. His current battle prowess had already reached the 7th heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor, so breaking through to the Holy Emperor would not increase his strength at all. However, as long as he could break through to the Holy Emperor's realm, he would possess the ability to rip open space gates. At that time, no matter how large the world was, no matter how great the distance between two places was, it would only be a single step for Jianshan. He would no longer need to rely on Rui Jin and Blackfish's help if he wanted to go somewhere far away. The Holy Emperor was the realm Jianshan had been looking forward to for a very long time. He did not lack battle prowess right now. What he lacked was comprehension. Master, you can't continue to comprehend the mysteries of the world, because this will only bring you harm and no benefits, Qing Suo said rather timidly when he sensed Jianshan's intense fury. Master, we're stopping you from breaking through to the Holy Emperor's realm. It's all for your own good. You can't break through to the Holy Emperor's realm. Ziying's voice rang out in Jianshan's head. She spoke firmly, as if no matter how angry Jianshan was, they would do everything they could to stop him. Jianshan calmed down very quickly with that. He forcefully suppressed his fury and growled. Xing, Qingsu, what's going on? Why can't I break through to the Holy Emperor's realm? Master, you want to walk the path of the way of the sword. The way of the sword will clash with the mysteries of the world that you've comprehended. The two cannot exist together at the same time. Otherwise, it will greatly affect your future cultivation. Master, don't you find it very strange that we don't stop you from breaking through to the 9th heavenly layer? That's because when your comprehension of the mysteries of the world stops at the 9th heavenly layer, Qing Suo and I can forcefully remove your comprehension of the mysteries of the world so that you can focus on the way of the sword. However, if Master's comprehension of the mysteries of the world reaches the level of the Holy Emperor, it'll be very difficult for me and Qing Suo to remove your comprehension, so you can never break through to the level of the Holy Emperor. What? You're going to strip me of the mysteries of heaven and earth in the future? Jianshan was shocked. So you're saying that I'll lose all my comprehension of the mysteries of the world in the future, including the saint ruler abilities that I currently possess? Indeed, but don't worry too much about it, Master. Once you walk the path of the way of the sword, you'll discover that the way of the sword is even more powerful than the mysteries of the world that you've comprehended, said Xing. Master, the way of the sword is publicly acknowledged as the most powerful killing technique. Before the way of the sword, the mysteries of the world are like tofu. Unless the difference between the two is just too great, the way of the sword is the undisputed king, said Qing Su. Xing, Qing Suo, is the way of the sword really as powerful as you say it is? If I walk the path of the way of the sword, just what level of strength will I reach? Jianshan was rather tempted. He was a swordsman in the first place, so he had a special attachment to the sword. Ziying and Qing Suo were describing a completely new path of cultivation, which was extremely tempting to Jianshan. Master, the way of the sword has a total of 5 great realms, which are Sword Origin, Sword Spirit, Sword Immortal, Sword Xian, and Sword God. These 5 realms do not represent strength. They're just like the Saint tier, Heaven tier, Earth tier, and Human tier battle skills on the Tianyuan continent. They represent great battle prowess and supreme offensive power. However, the 5 realms of the way of the sword are far more powerful than the battle skills on the Tianyuan continent. The difference between the two is like a chasm. Even the weakest realm of sword origin is several times more powerful than the battle skills of the Saint tier. And once you reach sword origin, every attack you make will be several times more powerful than a Saint tier battle skill. It won't be like a Saint tier battle skill, where it consumes a huge amount of energy every time you use it. Even a Holy Emperor would not be able to use it continuously. He paused slightly and fell silent for a while before continuing. The path of the way of the sword is extremely suitable for Master. If Master takes this path of cultivation, he will possess a unique advantage. If Master reaches sword origin with his current strength, he'll be able to break through to sword origin. If you reach sword spirit, you'll probably be as powerful as a Holy Emperor at the 9th heavenly layer. If you reach sword spirit, you won't need to fear experts like the Holy Emperor anymore. At the same time, the battle prowess of these realms will increase with Master strength. The 5 major realms of the Way of the Sword were like a Heaven tier battle skill. If this Heaven tier battle skill was given to an Earth Saint Master, they would be able to unleash power on par with Heaven Saint Masters. If a 6th cycle Earth Saint Master used the Heaven tier battle skill, even Heaven Saint Masters will become heavily injured. At the same time, if a Heaven Saint Master used the same Heaven tier battle skill, it would be even more powerful. Once the 5 realms of the Way of the Sword were comprehended, it would not increase one's strength. Instead, it would increase one's battle prowess and attack power. At the same time, the battle prowess would rapidly increase with one's strength. Although Jianshan possessed the battle prowess of a Holy Emperor at the 7th heavenly layer, this battle prowess came from the Emperor armament. Without the Emperor armament, his strength was only at the 3rd heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor. The 3rd heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor was Jianshan's true strength. Although his current comprehension of the mysteries of the world was nowhere close to catching up, the energy within Jianshan had truly reached the 3rd heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor, and he could use it as he wished like an extension of his arm. Jianshan's interest was immediately piqued by what the sword spirits had said. He no longer resented the sword spirits for interrupting his breakthrough to the Holy Emperor level. Instead, he felt a great desire for the Way of the Sword. Master, do you still remember the battle with Czar Kaiyun in the City of God? At that time, you entered a mysterious state. In a daze, you unleashed a powerful attack that far exceeded your own strength. In fact, this is the Way of the Sword, but it is only the edge of the 1st realm of the Way of the Sword. It's just a pity that you don't have a sword that you can use with your life, or you probably would have reached the 1st realm of the Way of the Sword, sword origin. Ziying's voice was filled with pity. Jianshan immediately thought back to the battle with Czar Kaiyun when he heard that. He immediately came to a realization and murmured, "So I've already touched on the edge of the Way of the Sword. Only now do I know that it's actually the Way of the Sword." Jianshan yearned for the Way of the Sword even more. He felt like this was the path of cultivation that belonged to him. Master, if you want to embark on the Way of the Sword, you need a sword that you can use with your life. Only by forging the azulate swords can you comprehend the Way of the Sword and reach sword origin, Qing Suo said eagerly. Ever since the sword spirits accepted Jianshan as their master and brought Jianshan's soul to the Tian Yuan continent, Jianshan was destined to embark on the Way of the Sword. It was just that he had never possessed a sword that he could use with his life, which was why the time for him to embark on the Way of the Sword had always been delayed. In the end, Jianshan had no choice but to embark on a cultivation path that belonged to this world to survive. As for the sword spirits, they had always been waiting for the day the twin swords were forged. Only when the twin swords were forged would Jianshan possess swords that were bound to his life, allowing him to truly comprehend the Way of the Sword. The azulate swords. The azulate swords. It's the azulate swords again. Jianshan was troubled. The materials to forge the azulate swords were difficult to find. Every single one of them could only be found through luck. They were not something that could be obtained just because one wanted them. Jianshan gently sighed inside. No matter how difficult it was to find the materials, he would not give up. This was not only because of the 2 powerful swords that he had desired for a very long time, but also so that he could successfully comprehend the way of the sword and reach the first layer of the way of the sword, sword origin. Zing, Qing Sua, how many materials are we missing to forge the azulate swords? Jinshin asked. We're missing 4 more before we can forge them. We've already made some progress on one of them. It's the Heaven's Soul Stone that Master came across when he was hunted down by the assassins of the Yamahal in the City of God. Although Master had obtained some Heaven's Soul Stone from one of the assassins, it's nowhere near enough, Zing said. Heaven's Soul Stone, the Yamahal, Jinshin murmured as a cold light flashed through his eyes. Jinshin's breakthrough had been blocked, and he was unable to break through to the Holy Emperor level. There was no reason for him to stay here any longer. He checked on Bai Hai and the others before waking Huang Wan up. After bidding farewell to Xiao Ling, he left with Huang Wan. Although Jinshin really wanted Huang Wan to stay here and continue comprehending the mysteries of the world, the ancient secret technique in Huang Wan's head had not been solved yet. He was still worried, so he wanted to take Huang Wan to the Protector clans and find a way to undo the secret technique. As for comprehending the mysteries of the world, he could bring Huang Wan back at any time in the future and have Xiao Ling study the mysteries of the world to assist her. Xiao Ling reluctantly bid farewell to Jinshin before sending Jinshin and Huang Wan to the surface. When Jinshin and Huang Wan appeared in Mercenary City, the commotion caused by the rainbow clouds had yet to disperse. Countless passers-by could be heard talking all over the place. Jinshin, why are there so many people talking about the rainbow clouds and the news of someone becoming a holy emperor? Are they talking about you? Have you already broken through to the holy emperor level? Huang Wan stared at Jinshin with her large, pretty eyes. She was surprised, and her eyes were filled with deep affection. Jinshin's head was filled with the way of the sword and the azulate swords. He no longer cared about his failure to break through to the holy emperor level. He could not help but smile when he heard Huang Wan's question. He said without any care, "The person they're talking about seems to be me. I have indeed failed to break through to the holy emperor level, so my comprehension of the mysteries of the world is still at the 9th heavenly layer.